Okay, I don't know why the top's not going away. Yeah. I'm just trying to get the thing to move at the top. Why it's,
I don't see your thing at the top.
oh, you don't?
No,
Oh.
I just, it says you are viewing Kurt Rowey's screen, but other than that, that's not a problem.
All right. We've got a toolbar at the top. So, all right, let's go.
Good to go.
Yeah, let's go.
Alvin, you can hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, we got 3 rules today for the K-16 and 17. I want to try to put them in context.
Okay,
before we get-
hold on. Kurt, I'm only hearing about half of what he's saying. He's a little far from the microphone, I think.
Hanging on his neck. It's right in front of him.
I can hear you fine, Kurt. I just was only hearing part of him.
Oh, wait just a second.
Try it now, Alvin. How's that?
That's much better. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to put the 3 rules in context here before we get into them, 15, 16, and 17. Rule 1, we heard that a round of golf is played stipulated number of holes, 1 hole at a time. Each hole is played by starting from the teeing area in a succession of strokes till you hole out on the putting green. Along the way, you play the course as you find it, you play the ball as it lies. Rule 8 told us all about playing the ball as it lies, okay? Rule 2, we found out there's different areas of the course. There's 5 of them. You can end up in some of those. Rule 6 told us what to do on the teeing area. Rule 12 told us what to do in a bunker if our stroke ends up there, how to play it from there. Rule 13 told us how to take our strokes on the putting green. Rule 17 is going to tell us what to do to continue our strokes from a penalty area. There's another concept that's hidden in the rules that comes up in a couple of places. You will encounter things on the course that are not considered to be part of the challenge of playing the game. When you encounter them, it puts in jeopardy your ability to continue this succession of strokes. You can't do that, you can't score, you can't play the round. So rules 15 and 16 are going to tell us what we do when we encounter things that aren't part of the challenge of playing the game. Okay? So we're going to start with 15. Loose impediments and movable obstructions. If you remember from Rule 8, these are not part of the lie of the ball. That should be a hint right there. Hint, hint. There we go. We've got a purpose statement. We'll look at each of those in turn. And then another thing that could be something that could obstruct your ability to make the next stroke, a ball or a ball marker either helping or interfering with play. So here's the things we're looking at again. Loose impediments, movable obstructions, including when the ball is not found. Well, you got to clarify that. It's when it's not found in or on a movable obstruction. If it's not found, it's a lost ball otherwise. Golf balls of other players and ball markers of other players. Difference between a loose impediment and a movable obstruction, pretty easy. One's a natural object, the other's artificial. Although you can take a natural object and turn it into an artificial object if you build something out of it. You can turn a loose impediment into something else. And there's different relief procedures in the sense that one of them, you can get a penalty if the ball moves. Obstructions, what are they? 2 kinds, movable and the other kind. We're going to address the immovable ones in Rule 16. 2 types of relief from balls and ball markers, helping and interfering. That's kind of messy, but when we get there, I think we can clear it up. So, how can the player take relief from a loose impediment and a movable obstruction? Say this right up front. Under Rules 15, 16, and 17, relief is not mandatory. It's at the player's discretion. You can always play the ball as it lies. There's one exception in Rule 16 and one in Rule 17, and that's a no-play zone. Other than that, relief is at your option. It's not required, okay? Here's that word again. These are not treated as part of the challenge of playing the course. And normally, I love that, you're allowed to remove them when they interfere with play. Here's the first one. Moving those loose impediments near the ball or off the penalty or off the putting green, going to get a penalty if the ball moves. If it does, what do? Under Rule 9, ball at rest moved, you put it back and continue from there. What are these loose impediments? Whoops, a little quick there. Some of these we know already. Stones, loose grass, leaves, branches, sticks, dead animals and animal waste. Not sure I'd want to move them. I'd ask my caddy to do it, but that's okay. Yeah. Worms, insect, and similar animals that can be removed easily if you want to. And this is important, the mounds and webs they build. They're going to look like something else that we'll encounter later, but they aren't, okay? Compacted soil, aeration plugs are loose impediments, okay? You would think, well, wait a minute, they were artificially created, shouldn't they be? They're loose impediments. However, they're not loose impediments if they're attached or growing, and attached doesn't mean it's live. It could be something that's dead, but it's still rooted in the ground. Just because it's dead doesn't mean you can pull it out and get it out of there. It's solidly embedded in the ground. In other words, can't be easily picked off. It's not loose, like Tiger Woods' boulder maybe. And if it's sticking to the ball, clearly it's not loose. Sand and loose soil are not loose impediments. That's why those casts and worm dung, they are, but sand and loose soil elsewhere is not a loose impediment. It's only those specific piles you find that are. Here, I should just put it up. These things are, other things aren't. Dew, frost, and water are not loose impediments. Snow and natural ice are either, this is a good one, they're either loose impediments or when they're on the ground, and only on the ground, temporary water. That's Rule 16. And that's the player's choice. Spider webs are loose impediments, even if they're attached to something that's living or growing. In other words, if it's in your way or you don't like it, take it out. Interesting, a live insect on a ball is not stuck to it. It doesn't adhere to it. By definition, it's a loose impediment. You can try to remove it. Okay. So, how do we do it? We've seen what they are, now how do we do it? Rights and restrictions on moving it? And what are the risks? Well, I can already tell you, it's one penalty stroke. You can remove a loose impediment anywhere on or off the course and may do so in any way. That's important, on or off the course. There's only two things you can touch off the course: movable obstructions and loose impediments. You say, why does that matter off the course? Well, your ball could be on the course, but you could be standing on them off the course, so you can move them. If your ball's off the course, doesn't matter, you're out of bounds. But this would be for your stance or something else that's off the course, and one of those is in the way. And how can you do it? Well, lots of ways. Hand, foot, club, other equipment, getting help from others, Tiger. You can break off part of it if it's loose. You merely need one part of a big branch to get out of the way, so you snap it off and throw it away. Two exceptions. Wouldn't be a rule if we didn't have exceptions. Before replacing a ball that was lifted or moved from anywhere except the putting green, a player must not deliberately remove a loose impediment that, if moved before the ball was lifted or moved, it would have caused the ball to move. Here's the example. Your ball from the last stroke came to rest on this leaf. You come up to it, you're looking at it, you're checking your yardage. What am I going to play? Squirrel comes running down, picks up the ball and carries it 3 feet away. The ball was moved, okay? If you were to pull the leaf out, you're going to get the penalty. Now, the squirrel moved the ball, you got to put it back if it moved it also, okay? If you get the penalty stroke, you don't have to put the impediment back. But if something else moved it and you didn't cause it to move, you're going to put it back on it because that's the lie you had when your ball came to rest. And this would apply during play or if play is stopped during the round. Okay. This is the case of a ball being returned to the course. It's not on the ground at the moment. A ball in the relief area, you're going to be dropped, placed, or replaced. You go back to Rule 8. This is one of the areas you can improve under Rule 8, the CATs, because loose impediments and movable obstructions are not part of the lie of the ball. And if you haven't dropped a ball in a relief area, it doesn't have a lie. If you have to drop it a second time, it still doesn't have a lie. Okay? And there's the answer at the bottom. When ball is dropped or placed, it's not being put back in the specific spot. Therefore, go ahead and clean it up. But don't mess with the ground. If you remember under Rule 8, there's some things you can undo. Anything you do to the ground, though, press down divots, soil, that you can't get away from. But here we're talking loose impediments right now. Okay. This doesn't apply to a loose impediment that was not there before the ball was lifted or moved. In other words, you're entitled to what you had when the ball came to rest. So let's say you mark it, lift it, step away, you come back, a leaf or something is now right on that spot. Sorry, it wasn't there when you started. Get it out of the way. You were entitled to what you had. Same thing would be true after a stoppage in play. Okay. Also, if it got moved as a result of marking the ball, lifting, moving, or replacing it, or causing the ball to move. Okay. And here's one. We've seen this already in Rule 11. This is the moving ball version of CATs. You can't do anything to loose impediments to affect where a ball in motion may stop or continue on to. If you're moving the loose impediment and the ball moves, what do? Well, guess what? We're going to continue from where we had the ball before. We put it back, just like we would have done under Rule 9, on the original spot. There we go. Kind of looked like he pushed it down into the needles a little bit, but that's okay. He's still in the needles. And again, if we don't know exactly where it was, we estimate it. Because there really would have been no reason to mark that ball before he started moving the loose impediments. Because you got to put it back anyway, but you're not supposed to move the ball. So why mark it? That's kind of like, I know I'm going to move it. Right? So ball anywhere else except on a couple of areas here. So that's general area, bunker, penalty area. If it moves, put it back. The putting green, under Rule 13, we had rules about accidental movement of a ball on the putting green. And I'd like to say moving a loose impediment causes accidental movement. So you put the ball back, no penalty. In the teeing area, until you make a stroke at the ball, it's not in play. So you can clean the ground up, do anything you want there.
But I'm sorry, slow on the last one, but where it moves, if they don't put it back, so you get the penalty stroke because it moves, and then if you hit it from the wrong place, then you hit,
What area of the course?
Repeat the question, please.
The question was, if the ball moves and you don't put it back, do you get a penalty stroke? My response was, what part of the course were you on? The response was general area. The answer is, yes, you don't get a one-stroke penalty if you make a stroke at it. You get the general penalty for playing from a wrong place. You only get 2. That's Rule 1 also. No intervening event. You get the higher of the penalties. Okay? So here we are, except for the putting green and teeing area. Those other areas of the course, you're gonna get the penalty. Now, there's exceptions. You can go back and find them, but under 9.4, it lists them. Pretty much it's accidental movement on the putting green, the teeing area, searching for a ball. We already found that one in Rule 7. And under most cases, applying or using a rule, measuring, things like that. And there it is. You don't get it back, general penalty. All right. Movable obstructions. We're going to address obstructions again in Rule 16. So by the end of the day, you're going to be really tired of obstructions. Two kinds, immovable and movable. We care about movable here, but unfortunately, we got to cover all of them first. These are obstructions. They're artificial. Cart path, manufactured ice, a rake in the bunker, a drain cover in the bunker, a water fountain on a concrete pad with a mulched area around it. All obstructions because they weren't there initially. They weren't part of the course. Top middle, manufactured ice, ice cubes. Not natural ice, ice cubes. Somebody dumped their cup there. Okay, there's things that look like obstructions, walk like obstructions, and smell like obstructions, but they ain't, because they have other purposes. Integral objects and boundary objects. Boundary objects is the easiest one to understand first. That's the thing that tells you where the course ends. Typically, stakes, line on the ground, or physical objects like a fence. And usually, understand, well, I'll say it, but it'll probably come up again in Rule 18. The important part of that boundary object is the posts, because we almost always define out of bounds as the inside edge of the posts at ground level, which means the post itself is out of bounds, which also means the fence itself is out of bounds. Okay? Integral objects, those are things that are constructed, in this case, a rock wall to form a pond, water retaining feature. Things that are obstructions, roads, paths artificially surfaced and their borders, read curbs, buildings and rain shelters, pump houses, things like that. Sprinkler heads, drains, irrigation or control boxes, stakes, walls, railing, fences, except boundary objects, things that define or show the boundary edge of the course. Golf carts, mowers, cars, other vehicles, waste containers, signposts, benches, player equipment, flag sticks, and rakes. Flag sticks we talked about in Rule 13. When they're out of the hole, they're obstructions and they're movable. Player equipment, we don't normally think of that, but another player's ball on the course is equipment, as far as you're concerned. The other thing to look at here is the first four, they don't move. We're going to see those again in Rule 16. The bottom three, for the most part, they move. Movable or immovable. Yeah, the rake, we can pick it up and move it. Kind of hard to move that cart path or its curb. This gets a little weird, especially when we get around to boundary objects, which we'll see again in Rule 18. If part of an immovable obstruction, such as a gate, door, and attached cable, meets the definition of movable, that part is treated as movable. Okay? So you can treat it differently under the rules in terms of relief. Now, if that gate, the gate is not part of the boundary element. If you look up definition of boundary element in the back, it will say a gate, a ladder, or anything used to get over the boundary element is not part of the boundary element. So that gate, if this was a boundary element, that gate in there, it would be an obstruction. Okay?
It lands on the opposite side.
Of what?
The gate.
Out of bounds? Or in bounds? Is this just a, hold on.
So you said the gate is treated as an obstruction.
No. If this fence is not a boundary object, it's just a fence on the course. A fence on the course, okay? The entire fence and gate is an obstruction. But if the gate is not locked, the gate itself is a movable obstruction and you can move it out of the way, okay?
But if it is the boundary,
If it's a boundary fence, it's still, this part of the gate itself is an obstruction of which you're entitled to relief. If it's not locked. Or unless the notes to the competitors say the gate on the fence along the second hole at St. Albans is part of the boundary element. The committee can always undo some stuff if it chooses. All right, this should be obvious, but paints, dots, lines ain't obstructions. They're paint, dots, and lines. TIOs are a special type of obstruction. We won't cover them in this presentation. I don't think we cover them in any of them because it's a local rule. Have to be invoked. Okay, finally, movable. What is it? Any obstruction that can be moved with reasonable effort without damaging the obstruction or the course. We've got a towel there on the ground. We've got a cart with an official. And we've got a rake with the ball against it. Yeah, here it is again. Anything that can meet the definition of movable, even if it's part of one that isn't, you can treat it as movable. In this case, the gate if it's not locked. Right? Remember I said an impediment can be an impediment or not? Well, here's a bunch of loose impediments that aren't anymore because we built a wall out of them. And now if one of those stones would fall on the ground and your ball was next to it, it's not an obstruction anymore, it's a loose impediment. It went from being a loose impediment to a wall and then back to a loose impediment when it fell out. So it's kind of like John's discussion of a ball can be in play, lost, substituted. It can change its status depending whether it's part of a construction or not. Here's something else that looks like it might be removable in pieces, but you're probably going to find in this case, the committee is going to say the stacked rail fence along the fifth hole is an immovable obstruction, period. All right, so same thing as before. How do we take relief? And now for the other part, since this is a little bigger than a loose impediment, what if it's in it or on it and we can't find it, but we have knowledge or virtual certainty? There's that KVC again. What's different here? It says rights and restrictions, no risks, different than loose impediments. Loose impediment moves the ball, possibly penalty stroke. Movable obstructions, Don't have to be careful. Just don't be too silly. And what if you can't find it? Okay, free relief. Similar to loose impediments, it's free relief. Everything under Rule 15 is free relief. Artificial objects that are defined as movable. There's a ball washer, we got some waste cans, there's that rake again. And we've got a stake, red penalty area stake. You don't get relief from the immovable ones. C16(1), not under this rule. Once again, boundary objects, integral objects, no free relief. Boundary object is just that, but integral objects, another way to think of that, they're considered part of the challenge of play in the course, which is why you don't get relief. Kind of like a bunker, part of the challenge of play in the course. Without penalty, player can remove the obstruction anywhere on or off the course in any way. Once again, on or off the course. You have to stand off the course to play your shot. There's a movable obstruction, whether it's owned by the course or it's in the guy's yard, he left a rake there, move it. You can do it in any way. Two exceptions. Once again, one of them you're going to say, well, it looks like an obstruction, it's artificial. but not until a certain thing happens. Tee markers of the teeing area of the hole you're playing. Anytime you're playing from the teeing area, they ain't movable and you can't touch them. We found that under Rule 8 also. After you've played from the teeing area, they're movable. And this is, again, kind of that Rule 11 thing. You can't deliberately, it says remove, but I would say remove or move a movable obstruction to affect the ball in motion. You can't take something and put it to either stop a ball from going somewhere or picking it up so it does go somewhere else once it's in motion. And that's deliberate. It can happen accidentally because let's say a caddy's not looking, he's finished raking the bunker and he puts the rake down where he thinks it's out of play and walks away, but he didn't see the ball come rolling towards it. That was accidental. Ball would be played where it came to rest.
So if you have a club, you lay it down, it's head to that club, run over and pick it up. Supposed to leave and let it hit.
The question was, player A has set a club down by the side of the green or somewhere on the course. Player B, playing from the other side, plays his shot. Player A sees it rolling towards his equipment that's laying on the course. Well, that club on the ground is equipment. It's a movable obstruction. I think you're allowed to pick it up and get it out of there. It's same as it was a flag stick laying there once it's taken out of the hole. Player's allowed to control his own equipment. Okay. If the ball moves while you're moving the movable obstruction, no penalty. Ball must be replaced on its original spot. Again, we're not dropping it. We're placing it. Why? Because we knew where it was at rest. Key point, if you know where it was at rest, it goes back there. It's when you didn't own a spot, you're going to drop under Rule 14. All righty. Here's that in or on part. We're going to start with the easy one. Anywhere except on the putting green. So it landed on a towel that somebody left there, somebody's equipment that they left there. But that equipment is a movable obstruction. So what do? Well, the ball isn't on the ground. Okay. So there's a bunch of ways to do this, but here they say lift the ball, move the obstruction, drop the original ball in this relief area. And what's the relief area? Well, what's the reference point going to be? Because we got to have one of those. Estimated point right under where the ball was on the obstruction. It's 1 club length. It must be in the same area of the course as the reference point and not nearer the hole than the reference point. Now, must be in the same area of the course as the reference point on the relief area. We've shown it as a semicircle here. What they really mean to say is you can only use the part of that relief area that's in the same part of the course as the reference point. For instance, if half of that relief area lied in a bunker, forget it. Cross it off. You can't use it. It doesn't change how you calculate it, just you can't use it. Okay, you can't drop in that area. And if the ball is dropped outside of that and rolls into that other area, you got to drop it again. We've got a really good example of it under Rule 16 with embedded ball. And somebody asked me once, because we had a situation like that on the course, says, I don't get my full half circle here because it's on the cart path. I said, you're right, you don't. You have the area available to you that's not on the other condition because you're taking relief from it. Okay. Movable obstruction on the putting green. Well, you're going to do the same thing, except what are we going to do here? We're not going to drop. We're going to place. Okay. Piece of cake. Now they always say, lift the ball. I don't know. I've seen somebody try to do the Houdini thing where they pull the towel out from underneath and hope the ball stays there. Only thing happened there is they had to chase the ball across the green. Okay. Placing procedures, those were Rule 14. The only thing you need to remember there is you replace it with your hand on the ground and release it. You can't roll it with a club, you can't kick it there. Place it with your hand on the ground. Okay, the guy just played as the person, played their last stroke and it ended up in the garbage bin. Okay? D, known or virtually certain, that's where it went. Somebody saw it. That's the best way. If you got garbage bins around, you probably got spectators too. So it's either in or on that movable obstruction, in this case in. So what do you do? I mean, let's say it's full of garbage. Do you really want to dig in there and find it? You could, but this is another option, as long as it's known or virtually certain it's in there. Okay, this would apply anywhere on the course or on the putting green, and the only difference is what we do once we start the procedure. All right, in it goes. What's the estimated point where it right under where the ball last crossed the edge of the obstruction? Okay, on the course. That's our reference point for taking relief, right? Once you do this under KVC, known or virtually certain, assuming you're going to do it in less than 3 minutes. If it's more than 3 minutes, doesn't matter anyway, but once you put a ball in play under known or virtually certain, and by put in play means you've taken the ball and you've dropped it with the intent to return it to the course. That original ball is a wrong ball. It doesn't exist anymore, okay? If you don't know where it was and you can't have known or virtually certain, then it's stroke and distance. Anyway, though, use this reference point right at the edge, okay? And that's going to kick us back to the part where we define an area, all right? Now, the difference is if it's on the putting green, we're going to place the ball there. Otherwise, we'll take a drop. Okay. You don't do it right, you get a wrong spot by either not putting the ball back after you move the obstruction, which is the best way, it's the only way really, or you didn't return it to that alternate spot because it was known or virtually certain it was lost in or on. You played from a wrong place, 2-stroke penalty. Any questions?
Yes.
Fire away.
Okay, first one is a point of clarification from John. He wanted to mention that a rock or stone that has fallen from a wall that is identifiable as having come from the wall is technically a movable obstruction, not a loose impediment.
Okay.
And the other question was if the ball has known virtually certain to have gone into the trash can, and in taking the 1 club length relief from the point where it went in, do you have to stay if the trash can is sitting in the general area? Does the relief have to be taken in the general area, or if the 1 club length gets you to the putting green, would that be acceptable?
It's based on the reference point. If the reference point was in the general area, that's where you have to stay. The reference point is what determines what part of the course you have to stay in, not where the relief area may overlap onto something else.
I agree.
We good?
I agree. I just wanted to relate the question to you.
Okay. All righty, this one can get, did you have one, Mike?
Player A lifts his ball and tosses it to the side. It's not in play any longer. Player B is putting from the green and hits that ball. So he's hitting a movable obstruction. Okay, what do you have?
Player B was playing from the green, and the other ball was on the green or off the green? On the green? Go see Rule 11. Says if a player making a stroke from the putting green hits another ball on the green, and it didn't say ball in play, it says ball. My interpretation would be you're going to get the penalty there that it says under Rule 11. Okay. Now, if it's, I guess really, I think Rule 11 probably would really be interpreted a ball in play on, another ball in play on the green. If it reads that way, then yeah, you get the penalty. If it's only for a ball in play on the green, then this would just be an obstruction and you play the ball as it lies.
Talk about that. Out of play, mark it, and it's out of play.
Well, like I say, Rule 11 says strikes another ball on the green. I don't think it says ball in play. It's the very first part of Rule 11, 11.1 something. It says exception, ball on the green. Anyway, we'll come back to that after we get through this, if somebody finds it. Okay.
One more for you. Is there an example you can give of a movable obstruction on the green?
Yeah. Somebody's beverage cup. It's artificial. Flag stick removed from the hole laying on the green. Somebody else's club laying on the green. The question was, you just replay the shot. The question was, can you give an example of a movable obstruction on the green? He didn't say he hit it or anything, just what would one be? Okay. All right. Ball marker or ball on the putting green, or wait, ball on the putting green helping play, ball anywhere on the course interfering with play, ball marker helping or interfering with play. Okay. Part A, putting green. Part B, anywhere on the course. Part C, doesn't say. This applies to a ball at rest on the putting green, not anywhere else on the course. Okay. Here we've got a ball at the bottom. I assume this is the ball about to be played at the bottom. We've got another player up there appearing to either returning a ball to the course or getting ready to mark it and lift it. Don't know which yet. If any player reasonably believes that a ball on the putting green might help anyone's play, any player, any ball, help anybody, the player may mark the spot of the ball and lift it if it's their own. If somebody else's, require them to mark and lift it before the stroke is played. Okay. Once the stroke is made and it's over, replace the ball on the original spot. Okay. So anybody can decide if balls on the green might help somebody else. I guess you could even decide if it's going to help yourself, but if it is, why would you have it removed? Okay. The player is allowed to leave those balls there. They're obstructions, movable obstructions. He's allowed to leave them there. Yeah, we have a question.
So I think we're gonna get to this later.
Probably.
And that is, if a player is ready to hit their shot onto the green and their, player B already has their ball on the green, and she runs up there to mark it, and player A says, no, don't mark it.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Because it didn't say where the shot's coming from. It's only talking about balls on the green. See, because right here I said this one looks like it's off the green. Okay, but it's a good question. You won't like the answer, well, at least player A won't like the answer. Okay. However, in stroke play, the player whose ball is asked to be lifted can play first. Okay. They don't have to, but they may. I mean, if they're 1 foot away, they may want to do it to avoid marking, lifting, replacing. But if they're 4 foot away, they're probably not going to want to in a tournament. They're going to want to go look at the shot, take their time. Here we go. If 2 or more players agree to leave a ball or balls in place to help any player, and the player then makes a stroke with the balls left in place, each player who made the agreement gets a general penalty, 2 strokes. So in your case, player A who's off the green, player B who's on the green is going up to mark their ball, and player A says, don't mark it, leave it there, and player B says, okay. Guess what? Add 2 to both of you. Okay?
They wouldn't penalize.
Well, we weren't there.
You don't penalize that, right? You gotta leave it there.
It's an agreement to do it. Okay? It says, leave the ball in place and the player makes a stroke with the ball left in play. Okay? And here's just a clarification. These green things are clarifications, and here's the example. Same thing, and this is important. A breach of the rule does not depend on whether the players know that such an agreement is not allowed. Okay? Now, here's the bad thing. Unless somebody says what happened at the scoring tent, we never knew it happened. Okay? Or if the players ask, hey, I got a question. On hole 12, I did that and they did that. What's the result? You won't like it. 2 for each of you. If somebody doesn't tell us or we don't see it, we never know any of this stuff happened. It's unfortunate, but it's true. But the next part's even better. If you know you're not allowed to do it and you do it, DQ under Rule 1. This is just a recommendation, and it's not a rule. I guess unless you put it in the notes to the players, it's not going to happen. The gist of it is, don't do that stuff. Okay. All right, interference. Now remember, helping for balls on the green, anybody can decide which balls might help somebody. Anybody. Interfering. We're not quite so liberal there. First, what is interference and how do we take relief? Okay, interference. When another player's ball at rest might interfere with the player's stance, swing, line of play. Okay. What do those things sound like? Remember those from Cats? There are 5 things in Cats. Well, stance, swing, line of play, that's 3 of them. In other words, that other ball is messing up somebody's cats. We'll give you one more, though, that you don't get under Cats, distraction. So this is the bonus one. So we know what the interference could be. Who decides? The player who is about to play the ball. Nobody else decides what interference is. It's the player who's going to make the stroke. Okay? You believe another player's ball anywhere on the course might interfere with it. You could be playing from a pitch shot from 50 yards away, but there's a ball right next to the hole. Now the player can go up and mark it because he's allowed to, and then he'd have all the privileges he does of marking a ball on the green. So typically we think about this somewhere else off the course. But we think it's going to be a problem interfering with your play, not somebody else's. Like, hey, you better mark that. I think it's interfering with Bill's play. No, not your call. That's Bill's call. Bill might want it there because he might want to use it as a target to aim over. But that's up to Bill to decide, not you. Okay? So you can require the other player to mark and lift it. You can't clean it. Usually you'll see him holding it in 2 fingers on the side or setting it down on the ground out of the way. When after the stroke is made, replace it on the original spot. He can replace it on the ground any way he wants in terms of orientation of the ball, except for one. You can't tee it up on the mud spot. Unless that's how it was. If you, that ball that has the mud there, you can put it back on its spot in any orientation except one. If the mud was not down on the ground, you can't put it back on the ground that way to tee it up. Like for a shot from the fairway. Okay, you can't tee it up so the mud's not where it was.
But you turn the left.
You can turn the mud away from the shot and everything else. You just can't roll it. Make sure it's teed up nice. You can get that fairway wood on it if you want, or that 1-iron. Okay. If the other player says, hell no, he doesn't mark it before he lifts it, or he cleans it, 1 penalty stroke. Or if he refuses to do it. I think if he refuses to do it, it's worse than 1 stroke. That's kind of one of those courtesy breach of rules and stuff like that, player conduct. Again, anyway, you can always play it first. That makes a whole lot of sense on a putting green. It doesn't make much sense at all if the balls are lying next to each other in the fairway. Just think about that. I'm the guy to play and your ball's right next to mine. I say, could you get that out of the way? So you mark it and lift it. Okay, gets out of the way. Whack, off it goes. Okay. But now he's messed up my shot and everything else. You don't really like getting into those things, but typically you're going to see it somewhere other than on the putting green. Okay. Here's what we just went through. You can't decide if it interferes. Only the player about to make the stroke can decide if it's interfering. Okay. 1 penalty stroke, unless it's on the putting green, in which case you're allowed to mark it. Player can't stop you from marking it on the putting green if you decide to. I thought it'd be 2, but they say it's only 1. Okay. Okay, ball marker helping or interfering. Well, it doesn't say what part of the course this is on. Typically, we think the ball marker, we're marking it typically on the putting green. That's the most likely time this would occur. Could happen out in the fairway, but typically this is going to happen on the putting green. What's the ball marker? Artificial object, tee, coin, something meant to be a ball marker, other small piece of equipment like a divot tool. What do we mean a ball marker being moved? Well, the ball marker's on the course to mark the spot of a ball. We haven't yet returned the ball to play on the course. So it's just the marker there. If the marker might help or interfere with play, that's either or. The player may move it out of the way if it's their own. If it belongs to another player, ask them to move it, just as you could on before. And if you do it, you have to get the marker back before you play, or wrong place. Okay? Now, helping or interfering, it still hasn't said much, but since they're talking here 15.3a and 15.3b, helping, I'm assuming, and I tried to find this in a clarification, if it's all about helping a ball marker on the green, anybody can decide, I assume, if a ball marker is helping potentially anybody and ask it to be lifted or moved. Interfering, I think that's going to rely on the player who's about to make the shot again. The same restrictions would apply. Who decides can help and who decides it interferes. I mean, I looked at A and B and tried to get them back and forth to this. My interpretation is helping, anybody decides, interfering, only the player who's about to play. Okay, so you go back, you come back again. Okay. And here again, you reverse how you got there. I mean, so I've seen them move to club length, to be sure. So you just use the same club and put it back. Okay. This is kind of similar to what we saw on another thing. You get the general penalty, and it also applies if someone is asked to either move a ball marker because it interferes or helps, and the player who's set to make the stroke doesn't wait, goes ahead, refuses to, somebody else refuses to move it, bingo. Okay, any questions on that? Because that's Rule 15.
No questions here.
Okay. One other thing I should say. Under Rule 15, we didn't move the ball. We played it from where it came to rest with the exception of in or on a movable obstruction. We played the ball from where it came to rest. Okay? Yeah, get that good version of 16 up.
While you're doing that, want to remind everyone my number, if they want to text a question, is 314-409-0444. Again, 314-409-0444.
16 is a long rule. This would be a good time to take a break and stretch if you want to, because we're going to be here for a while on this one. I think it's 200 slides. Hmm?
Pitch it down.
Yeah, and then 17 goes quick again. We do okay on that one? I think so.
Now it's a little sunshine and some golf clubs, huh?
Yeah. For some reason, 15 takes longer than you think it should. Part of that because they cover stuff that you could really not go until the next rule. Ever find that thing on ball on the putting green? It's here it is. It's right here, I think.
On 15,
Oh.
this was where I was asking about.
If that's what you're moving something out of the way of a shot you've made, not a shot somebody else has made.
Well, playing from the team area, but
No, this is, so.
your exception too.
Yeah,
Well, you shouldn't do it if it's your shot, for instance.
right.
You hit it up a hill. If anybody else.
I see somebody and it's gonna roll into the trap and I pull the rig out of the trap and I'm standing there,
Why would you pull it out of the trap?
the rig,
Yeah.
because the other guy falls going in. But
Yeah.
that would be a penalty in that case.
Probably,
But if-
because you're affecting where it would have stopped
but
in the
if it's,
bunker.
if it's coming in my bag, I can pick up my bag.
You can pick up your bag here.
Well.
Yeah, technically you can move the movable obstruction except where it's going to affect where the ball would come to rest.
That's what I mean, so he blades away,
Yeah.
I'm like, crap, close my bag.
Yeah, you're allowed to do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
because you're affecting where it's gonna come to rest, but it's your equipment. so you
It's your equipment, yeah, because you were allowed to move that anyway. Essentially, you're allowing it to go where it should have went. Did you find that thing in Rule 11? Yeah, I know where it is exactly. This needs some light. Ball plate, okay, ball plate on putting green and stroke plate. If the player's ball in motion strikes another ball at rest on the
Yeah,
putting, green,
rest means it's in play though,
probably, yeah.
Right? I mean,
So
I'm
it'd
just-
have to, yeah, so it'd have to. I don't think so, because the wrong ball isn't a ball at rest. It's a wrong ball.
Ball, right, so if I marked it and I tossed it to the side, it's not at rest.
It's just a wrong ball.
Okay, so they have
Which
rest.
means it's an outside influence. If you hit it, you play it where it lies. A long ball can't be at rest. That defines it as being a ball in play, yeah. I just didn't remember what it said about the other ball. Oh, should we get going again?
Please.
You're welcome. Wait, everybody sit down and get going again? Yeah. Okay, Rule 16. Abnormal course conditions, there's 4. Dangerous animals, there's many. Embedded ball. The difference between Rule 15 and Rule 16, and again, every relief you can take under 16 is optional except one, which is a no-play zone. And there's a reason it's under Rule 16. Another reason it's under Rule 17, and we'll find out why. These things are not considered part of the challenge of playing the game. Okay? Free relief. We're going to move the ball this time. Under Rule 16, we move the ball. Why? Well, think about it. Immovable obstructions. You want to move that cart path? I don't think so. So in this case, we're moving the ball away from the problem so we can continue the succession of strokes from a different place on the course. So everything John covered in Rule 14 last week about how to drop, how to redrop, how to place, how to replace, this is where we start to see applications of it. In fact, I'm going to say this right now. I thought of this. Up until now, we've only had 3 times under the rules that I can think of where a ball at rest has been played from a different part of the course. We saw one of them in Rule 15 for known or virtually certain in or on a movable obstruction, and we couldn't get it. Anybody want to think what the other 2 might be? Where we play the ball from a different place by dropping it. One of them is Rule 11. Ball deliberately deflected. You don't play it from where it landed or where it ended up. You have to estimate where it would have went, and you drop it at that point. The other one's Rule 13. The putting greens, or putting green. Ball on a wrong green. You don't play it there. You take relief and play it from off a different location. Those are the only 2 I could find. Till we get to these, this one here, where deliberately we're moving it to continue play. Okay, so purpose statement, abnormal course conditions, there's 4 of them. Dangerous animal condition, embedded ball, and 16.4 is kind of the abnormal course conditions rule of lifting to find or identify your ball. Except in this case, you're trying to find out, am I in the condition where the relief is allowed? There they are. There's the 4 types of abnormal course conditions: animal holes, ground under repair, immovable obstructions, finally, and temporary water. Under this, we come to a term that's kind of important. I'll go over it pretty good when we get to it. Nearest point of complete relief. What is it? How do we determine it? Standard free relief. Okay, the next question is, what's non-standard free relief? Penalty relief from bunkers. Ball not found free relief, KVC. This is another way. It's like the move ball in or on a movable obstruction, you can't find it. This is for abnormal course conditions. And a no play zone relief, okay? That's a mandatory one. dangerous animals, embedded balls in the general area. And what do you do if you're not sure? How and when a player may take free relief? By playing a ball from a different place. That's everything in this rule is a different place. And again, it's optional. You don't have to. But if there's an alligator near my ball, I'm not going to wait. And I don't think I want to play an embedded ball from where it came to rest, but who knows? And again, we'll use 14 once we determine the nearest point of complete relief to get it back in play. Or another ball, okay? And again, interference from those things. Again, it's not part of the challenge of playing the course. That's why we get free relief, except in a penalty area. This rule does not apply in a penalty area. None of the relief available for this, except dangerous animals, apply in a penalty area. Normal relief, dropping a ball in relief area based on the nearest point of complete relief. Nearest and complete. Important things. We also get relief under this rule embedded in its own pitch mark in the general area. So, part 1, abnormal course conditions. When do we get relief? And it depends where on the course we are, how we take that relief. General area, bunker, putting green. Penalty area is not there except for no play zone because it's not covered by this rule. You want to get out of a penalty area, you go to Rule 17. It's the only way out other than playing it. Okay? Can't find the ball in it, and no play zone. Abnormal course conditions, 4 of them. Animal hole, ground under repair, immovable obstruction, temporary water, formerly casual water.
When you say hole,
Yeah,
so in Missouri, we have.
we'll get there. You'll see. Somebody said, what about moles that leave a trail, visible trail on the surface? Yeah, that's considered part of the hole. So there's the 4 things. Animal hole, hole dug in the ground by an animal, fine. Except animals that ain't always animals. They're bugs. Turns out bugs, they're animals sometimes, and they're loose impediments other times. What are the animals? Oh, your ball's at rest and a bug crawls across the green and moves it. It's an animal, it's an outside influence in that case. You put the ball back. When it comes to this rule, they're not. So it includes anything they shove out of the hole when they dig it, a worn down track leading into it, and any ground pushed up as they make the hole longer, deeper, farther away. Isolated footprints, hoof prints, whatever? No, not part of the problem. That's not an animal hole. Same as somebody walked through it as far as you're concerned from a rules point. Once again, we're going back to animals. Living member of the animal kingdom, including, well, here they are again. Now they're included again. They're not included for digging holes, but they're animals for the rest of everything else. Ground under repair, the second abnormal course condition. It's anything the committee defines to be ground under repair, and typically you have to mark it so we know. It's suggested under the rules anyway. If you're going to mark it, you do it one of 2 ways, a line on the ground or stakes around the boundary of it. If it's a line on the ground, it's really nice if it closes on itself. So it's not open-ended on one side. Now, the ground under repair includes all the ground inside that, as well as anything growing in there, rooted in there, that extends up out of the ground and outside of the white line. Since it started inside, if part of it hangs outside over the edge of the boundary, it's still part of the ground under repair. So a tree that's rooted inside the ground under repair, if it hangs outside and interferes with your swing, you get relief from it, okay? But but not if it's below the ground extending out, a tree root. There's the best example. There's your white line on the ground. The roots sticking outside of that, since they're in the ground, not included. But branches extending above from the tree outside are. Ground under repair includes some things here. Holes made by the committee or the maintenance staff in setting up the course. For instance, holes for stakes. Here's one showing a yellow penalty area. Could be on a double green, the hole on the green for the hole you're not playing. Okay. Maintaining the course. This is good. A hole made in removing turf or a tree or stump or laying a pipeline, but not aeration holes. Aeration plugs, though, remember, were loose impediments, but not the holes. Well, there is a local rule that can give relief for the ball in an aeration hole. It's a local rule. It has to be noted in the conditions of play. If it isn't, it's not by default. Anyway, we got a nice hole there, don't we? That's a hell of a trench. I wonder about all that dirt outside of it is, though. How we'll treat that. Maybe they'll tell us. Includes grass cuttings, leaves, and other material piled for removal. There's what the stuff outside the hole was. It's piled for removal. Now, the removal may be back into the trench, but it's still piled for removal. It's not intended to stay there. Because remember, loose soil sand, not a loose impediment, so we can't call it that. This is how we get around it. It's piled for removal. Also, nice little one. Here's another choice like snow and ice. It's either temporary water or a loose impediment. Natural materials piled for removal are loose impediments. Player's choice. He can either try to move them out of the way or treat it as ground under repair and move the ball. His choice. He's either going to leave the ball there and move the stuff or move the ball and leave the stuff. His choice. So he can work it under Rule 15 or Rule 16 at his choice. One may be better than the other. Materials left on the course not intended to remove are not ground under repair unless the committee says so. Like all that stuff dug out of the trench, I'm sorry. That's not intended to be left there. That's going back in the hole. Animal habitat, like a bird's nest. So near the player's ball that the stroke or stance might damage it, ground under repair. Except guess what? Not by things that are loose impediments, read insects. Don't worry, we can get you out of that too. Just not under this part of the rule. Okay, how do we know where it is? Well, stakes, lines, physical features. Stakes, that's one way to do it. It's not necessarily the most precise because it leaves trying to define that edge, but you put the 4 stakes here. What you do is it's the line between the outside edges of the stakes. So in this case, it's going to be a 4-sided polygon. Everything inside that at ground level or anything in there growing up out of it is in the ground under repair. And this is an important thing too. Anything that defines a condition is in the condition. So the stakes are part of the ground under repair. If there was a white line on the ground, it's part of the ground under repair. The outside edge of the line is the edge of the ground under repair, okay? Physical features, here we've got a landscaped area. If the committee doesn't want us in there, I guess they could call it an O-play zone, but they're still going to have to call it something else too. You'll see why. Call it ground under repair. Now the problem is, where's the edge? Well, depending. Let's say there's a cut edge of the turf around it. That's one way to do it. Let's say there's mulch in a confined area. It's got a curbing around it. You'd say the outside of the curbing, but it needs to be defined. What do I do? Where is it? Okay. Now, by defining it as ground under repair, what is that telling us? It's not part of the course we have to play, and it's going to tell us where we play the ball from. Okay. By giving it a definition, it tells us where we can take the ball to resume strokes. Here again, it's saying if we use lines or physical features and stakes, like you stick them around there, so if you're walking up to it, you know the condition is over there. from 30 yards away, you don't know there's a white line on the ground, but if you see a white stake over there, you think, geez, I'm either out of bounds or it's ground under repair. You know what's there. It's the same reason if we've got red lines for a red penalty area and red stakes. So somebody standing back on the tee can see the red stakes and know there's a penalty area there. It's for identification. It's showing. Okay? And stakes, whether they're defining or showing, they're movable obstructions unless they're rooted in concrete. You can easily remove them and set them aside. You can put them back after you're done making the stroke. Okay. So that covers animal holes, ground under repair. Now we come to our least favorite topic today, obstructions. This is the abridged version. We see the same picture again, except for these guys again. They look like it, feel like it, smell like it, but they aren't. Integral objects and boundary objects. More definition on those two, though, than we got the last time. What's a boundary object? Defines or shows out of bounds. Walls, fences, stakes, railings. No free relief. And here we see that stone wall again. There's our fence. It looks like we've got stakes with possibly a white line on the ground too, or else they just mowed a cut there. I can't tell. Boundary object, in the case of a fence, it includes the post, which is better because that's typically what we define as the boundary object, the posts on the fence. And anything that's basted, like it's stuck in concrete, if that's projecting above or below the ground. That's part of it, no relief. Doesn't include anything there to hold the fence from falling over. Again, now it doesn't include a gate, steps, bridge, or similar construction to get over or through it. So if that's a boundary fence at the top there, that gate, which has the yellow circle and the slash in it, that's not part of the boundary object. That's an obstruction. So while you wouldn't get relief from the post right next to it, if you had interference from that gate or swing or stance, you would get relief from that as an obstruction. They're movable, even if parts of them may be movable, okay? Except, guess what? The gate isn't part of it, okay? The gate isn't part of the boundary object, so it sounds kind of weird. You can move it, but you can't. It's not part of it, so yeah, you can move it. Again, unless it's locked shut and you got a bolt cutter. Remember, there's three things. There's an obstruction, an integral object, and a boundary object. We're doing what it ain't again, okay? Boundary objects, they ain't these two. They may look like it, but they ain't. Here we've got an equipment box, and here we got that stone wall again. That's part of the water retaining area. First, they got to be called out by the committee. If they aren't, they're going to be treated as an obstruction. It's not an integral object, okay? It's an obstruction. If it's not a boundary object, and it's not declared as an integral object, it's an obstruction because it's got all the other properties of it. What's the difference? It's part of the challenge of playing the course. No free relief. Essentially, that's what declaring it an integral object makes it. All the rest of this rule is about stuff that ain't part of the challenge. Once you say it's an integral object, it's part of the challenge. However, since this isn't a boundary object, if part of it is movable, you can move it. Gates are the best. Here they've got a cable wrapped around a tree, whether it's a down conductor for lightning or power for a light, can't tell. But if that's movable, you can move it. Had this happen once in a tournament, player hit a ball, it came to rest between a cable on a tree and the tree, above the ground, 4 feet above the ground. So what do you do? Well, the question is, was that cable movable or not? Okay. The conditions for the play that day said closely wrapped cables around trees are not an obstruction. Okay, they're integral objects. So I got called over, so the first, and I had read that, okay. So the first thing I did went over and I looked at the cable and it was stapled to the tree about every foot. So it was not loose. So essentially that ball was in play right there. No free relief. Okay. So again, an integral object, it ain't one of the other two. No matter which one of these we're looking at, it ain't one of the other two. Here's that list again, so we'll just go right through it. Now we're concerned with the first four, the things that don't move or can't be moved easily, okay? Movable or immovable? Well, we care about the bottom one. If it can't be moved without unreasonable effort, without damaging the obstruction of the course, and isn't otherwise movable, it's immovable, which means now we're going to move the ball. Here's that split rail fence again. We don't need to talk about it if it's declared. So that's the end of immovable obstructions. Our last one is temporary water. It's a temporary accumulation of water on the surface of the ground. Doesn't matter how it got there. Temporary accumulation. Sprinkler ran over it, an overflow from a creek that's outside the penalty area. Doesn't matter how it got there. It's not normally there. You can't have temporary water in a penalty area. You'll find out why when we get to Rule 17, but you can't. This is important. It has to be seen either before or after the player takes a stance, parentheses, without pressing down excessively with their feet. The phrase is stance, not dance. Just because it's soft, muddy, squishy, you can hear it, don't count. Why? Momentarily visible don't cut it. The water must remain present that you can see it before the player gets there or after they take their stance and they're standing there, not rocking their feet back and forth. Because I've seen situations where the player comes up, they take their stance, the water squishes up. Once they stop moving, the water disappears. Okay? Has to be visible the whole time, not just for an instant. Okay? Here's again things that look like it, feel like it, smell like it, but may not be. Dew and frost, not temporary water. Snow and natural ice, good one. You got your choice, loose impediments or, and only or, they have to be on the ground. Because that was in the start of temporary water. Temporary accumulation on the ground, not up in a tree, not in a bush. It's dripping on you, that doesn't count. And manufactured ice, by definition, since it's artificial, always an obstruction, and a movable one. Okay? Okay, so now we know what the four things are. There they are again. Now how do we get away from them? If we choose. Don't get relief from movable obstructions. See Rule 15. Don't get relief from boundary objects and integral objects. Here's this thing. In order to get away from them, we have to find this point. Nearest point of complete relief. What is it? And why do we care? It's the reference point for taking free relief from an abnormal course condition, dangerous animal condition, a wrong green, a no play zone, or certain local rules like TIOs. Might even be from aeration holes if we're giving you relief from that. Okay, this one you need to really commit to memory. It's the estimated point where the ball would lie. Where the ball would lie, not the feet or anything else. It's where the ball would be on the ground. It's not nearer the hole than where the ball originally is. It's in the required area of the course, which is going to be based on where the ball started. And there's no interference from the condition we're trying to get away from. For the stroke the player would have made from the original spot if the condition wasn't there. Okay, so the player's ball came to rest on the immovable obstruction, the cart path, artificially surfaced. There he is lining up with the stance and the swing he would have made. Says, I really don't want to play this. I just bought these clubs. I'm going to take relief. So where's his nearest point of complete relief? Well, it can't be near the hole, and that's what we got that dotted yellow line for. So it's either going to be one side or the other. Okay, it's the nearest point where the ball would lie. Okay, if you look to the left, that's probably closer to where the original ball is than going the other way. Why? Because to get his feet clear, the ball had to be 4 feet off the cart path to the right. Going the other way, he only had to get the ball clear. He only had to move it 6 inches off. Okay, that's the key thing. Nearest point where the ball would be. That becomes our reference point, and it's the nearest point of complete relief.
The nearest point of relief is the spot the shortest distance away from where your ball lies, either left of, right of, or behind it, that isn't closer to the hole, and where, if your ball was there, you could make a stroke at it without any interference to your resulting lie, stance, and swing.
Okay, he used 3 words there, lie, stance, swing. Kind of sounds like cats again, doesn't it? Essentially, you're getting a place where you've got a clean cat's unencumbered place to play the ball. Okay, at least for those 3 conditions. Well, in order to find it, you pretty much need to know what were you going to do. Okay, what club were you going to use? What stance, swing, line of play? Now, I've seen players take a driver to simulate the shot because it'll get you farther away. That's really not the club you're going to use, okay? In that case, so you can choke down on that if you want, but I don't think you're really going to play the driver from there, are you? Well, I'm going to measure with it, yeah, but that's not the club you're going to hit. We're trying to get the ball in a spot. The other thing you'll see from a lot of players is they immediately go for stance, like the player to the right. He'll get his feet there. He'll never touch the ball. He'll put a tee in the ground there and measure 1 club length. Now, that may turn out to be in the relief area, but it's not what he should have done, because potentially he could have been a club length or more farther away and had a bigger area to drop in. He's only cheating himself when he does that. Okay? You don't need to simulate the swing and everything, but it never hurts. I mean, typically all we ask you to do is take the stance with the club and ground it and put a tee on the ground where that club head is. That's your reference point. That's your nearest point of complete relief, assuming your stance and everything else is clear. This is why you need to look before if you're the player, you want to look before you exercise this and lift the ball. He's trying to get that ball in play from the cart path. Well, it's pretty obvious here. His nearest point of complete relief is going to be under that tree. Doesn't mean you won't have a problem there, but it won't be from the cart path, which is what you're trying to get away from.
The nearest point isn't always the nicest point. In this case, the player's nearest point of complete relief from this path is under the tree, not to the left of the path in the clear. So, it's a good idea not to lift your ball before figuring this out, because sometimes the best option is to just play the ball as it lies.
Remember, that's always an option. Play your ball as it lies, except for a no play zone, or a wrong green, or a ball deliberately deflected. Other than that, you don't have to take relief. And by the way, you can't borrow somebody else's wedge to hit the shot off the cart path. Okay? What if you take relief and now you have another interference from another abnormal course condition or a movable obstruction or something else? You take relief from that condition next. Okay? There's only one instance where you can do 2 at 1. You do each one in turn, except when you go from condition A, puts you in condition B. Condition B puts you back in condition A. You can't get out of the loop. That's when you say, where's the spot that satisfies both? And that's where your nearest point of complete relief is. That's your reference point, and you generate your relief area from that spot. I've only seen it once since 2016 when I started, and that was at Bogey Hills. I think it was after the 5th hole where a bunch of cart paths come together. Player hit his ball over there. We went from a cart path to a flower bed that was ground under repair, which put us back on the cart path. Finally, we had to go back and find another spot that was away from both of them, no nearer the hole. And that's what this says. Once it's obvious you're going to go back and forth, you find a third spot. Any questions on point and nearest point of complete relief? It's the ball, not feet. It's the ball position that gets your feet and everything else clear. No near the hole, and closest to where the ball originally lied at rest, which is why you don't always get to go to the fairway side of a cart path. Okay?
Might point out that with multiple obstacles that you covered just a minute ago, that the procedure is to have the player go through each, not just assume.
That's correct, because until you do the second one, you don't know. Okay. All right. So we've defined a key thing, nearest point of complete relief. Now let's define interference. Player's ball is in or on an abnormal course condition. That's pretty clear. Interferes with the stance, area of intended swing. Putting green, you get line of play. That's the place where line of play shows up under this rule. Putting green only. Remember that distractions we got for ball interfering? You lost it for this. You don't get it under this one. You don't get distraction interference under this rule. You got it under ball interfering with play, Rule 15, but you don't get it here. Here you get distracted. Sorry. Okay. Local rules can be adopted where you don't get relief if it only interferes with stance. The one I know, there's two of them I can think of. One, wrong green. The ball is off the green, but your feet are on it. The rule as it reads in the book is stance, swing, or ball. You can put in a local rule that says ball only for a wrong green, okay? The other is sometimes for aeration holes, sod seams, it's ball only, not stance or swing, okay? Good one, I forgot about seams. Okay, when can we take relief? Well, anywhere on course except ... Ball can't be in a penalty area because that's the only way you get out of there is under Rule 17, okay? But here's the important part. Both of these have to be true. The abnormal course condition has to be on the course, and the ball has to be on the course. Under Rule 15, we could move things that were off the course, loose impediments and movable obstructions, if they interfered. These guys, both of them have to be on the course. Okay? In other words, here's the best example I can think of. Your ball's 2 feet in bounds. You're going to play it. There's a puddle of temporary water out of bounds that you have to stand in. Sorry. Too bad. Okay. And again, no penalty, no free relief for a ball in a penalty area if any of these conditions are there. Abnormal course conditions, sorry. They don't exist in the penalty area. Okay. Here's the other one, when it's clearly unreasonable to play it. Why? Because it's in a tree stump, stuck in a bush, stuff like that. You really didn't have a swing, whether you were standing on a cart path or not. No relief. Okay. One more. This is a good one. I like to call this a Seve Ballesteros rule. You can't create an interference by intending to play deliberately in a stupid way. So here's a stupid way. Players get playing to a green. Yeah, that's a much better stance now. You can't quite see it now but the flag stick is over the right edge of the bunkers up there. And he's maybe 80 yards away. So I guess what he's going to do here is now, with his wedge, he's going to play a 40-yard hook from 80 yards away. Yeah, I don't think so. Sorry, Seve. Okay. However, if you have to adopt an abnormal swing stance or direction of play to accommodate a given situation, and there's a resulting interference with an abnormal course condition, you get relief. This is the St. Albans rule. If it's reasonable to do that, to make a stroke, you can. And here's the example. This is St. Albans on the second, third, or fourth hole. Down the left side of that hole, there's a boundary fence. There's about 2 feet of grass, and then there's a cart path. Every year we play out there, at least a couple of balls come to rest between the cart path and the boundary fence. And you always get called over, and the players want relief because they can't swing because of the boundary fence. No. You stand there and say, no, you don't get relief from the boundary object.
But if they say I'm gonna play it left-handed, then they're the right-handed player.
If they say, can I play it left-handed? I said, sure you can. But I'm standing on the path. I said, fine, now you have an interference. You can take relief from the path.
But then they have to, the next shot has to be left-handed? And they take
No,
relief?
no. We'll get to it. See, you're turning 10 pages ahead. That's okay. So now he does have an interference, but his relief from that immovable obstruction can't be near the boundary fence because he's still standing on the cart path. So he has to go to the fairway side of the path, and his reference point, nearest point of complete relief, is going to be like 3 inches off the path. So there's the spot. Now you create your reference, your relief area, okay? Now this is the important part. Since he's got a left-handed swing he can do, and he takes the relief. After the relief procedure is complete, that doesn't mean he walks over there and says, I'm going to play right-handed now. The relief procedure complete means he has to create the relief area and put a ball in play by dropping it in the relief area. It's possible when he drops it in there, he will have no interference from standing on the path. Okay? In which case, he's free to take right-handed swing, left-handed swing, different direction of play, whatever he wants, because the ball's in a different part of the course. Okay? So once he does take complete relief, he's free to change his options, but he can't, it's kind of like not taking relief from B to see if it still gets him back in A. You can't just say it will. You have to put the ball back in play and then decide what your options are from there. So there you can get away from it. If you decide not to, or it's unreasonable to do it, you got one other choice, and that's Rule 19, which is your only other get out of jail card, but it's going to cost you unplayable ball. And don't ask about stroke and distance, because that's one of the options under unplayable ball. Okay? You can't create a dumb thing. You can't create a stance because of a bad lie or something else to create the interference, kind of like we saw with the drainage grate. Okay? All righty. Okay. TIO, separate relief procedures. It's a local rule. Typically it's for like fans, in what we see. Other TIOs would be snack shops, bleachers, scoreboards, that you see at major tournaments. Yeah, tents, scoring tents, yeah. We don't have a lot of those on courses. Typically for us, it's ventilation fans during summer. Okay, so now we know how to take relief. We can take weird relief when it applies. Now we got to look at each of the 3 areas of the course where we're allowed to do it. General area, okay? Abnormal course condition and the ball are both on the course. You're going to drop the original ball or another. in the relief area. Where is it? Well, here we've shown it as ground under repair, it looks like, because there's a white line around it. So where's our reference point? Find our nearest point of complete relief. Remember, it's left, right, or behind. In this case, it's behind. That's where we mark it. We create our relief area, 1 club length. Since the reference point was in the general area, that's where the relief area has to be. We throw out any parts of the relief area that are not in the general area, like they're in a bunker or a penalty area. Okay, so there it is, general area, not near the hole, complete relief. Well, we went behind it, so I assume we're far enough away. Ball in a bunker, this gets messy quick. You can take free relief in the bunker or penalty relief outside of the bunker. Okay, it's the in the bunker part that's the hard part. What we've got here is temporary water. It could also be ground under repair. Could be an animal hole. Could be an immovable obstruction, like a drain. Those you can probably handle pretty easy. It's that temporary water that gets to be the problem. So, just like the general area, if we're going to stay in the bunker for free relief, okay, the nearest point of complete relief and the area must be in the bunker, has to stay in the same part of the course, okay? 1 club length, no near the hole. So in this case, we had temporary water. The nearest point of complete relief for a right-handed player, it looks like, is going to be to the left. There's his nearest point. You plop it down, you create your relief area, drop the ball, and play. Okay. This is that non-standard relief, I guess. It's the point of maximum available relief. It's an abnormal course condition in the bunker. It could be ground under repair, I guess, if the whole back of this bunker was ground under repair. I wouldn't think an immovable obstruction would be that big, but could be. Could be a really big animal hole, but it tends to be temporary water. Putting green is later in here, but they're going to throw it in with this for one thing only. There's no nearest point of complete relief because you can see the green up above it there. To get out of the water, we'd have to be nearer the hole than where the ball lies. So we have to stay in the water somewhere, okay? And in the bunker if we want free relief. So where's our nearest point of maximum available relief? Well, it's where the water least interferes with what we want to do, okay? What stroke would we have played? What line would we have played? Where is the water least problem? So once again, club stance, swing, line of play that we'd have used for the stroke. I mean, it's possible here, the player would have said, I just want to turn around and play backwards out of there. Fine. In that case, where's the point? No near the hole.
Complete relief means ball or ball and stance.
Complete relief, no.
She looked the ball out and stand in the water to hit the shot.
We're talking maximum here because it can't be complete, okay? You're going to have something is going to get interfered with by the water here. Because if it doesn't, that's nearest point of complete relief, and this discussion doesn't even apply. Okay? The question was, can you move the ball out and not stand in the water? Okay. The answer is maybe, because it's possible you can get the ball out and stand outside the bunker to play it. Okay, that would work. You don't have to be standing in the bunker to play it. But the assumption here is you're going to try to play towards the hole. And as it's shown here, for a right-handed player, even if you move the ball out, you're still going to have stance interference. So what you're getting is maximum relief for something. And what's maximum relief? You don't need to simulate everything. We don't want you to stand in the water, but it helps. Most of the time we can tell. So here's what it is. It's the nearest point, okay, where either the lie or the stance and swing is least affected. But it's the nearest point. You don't get to pick which one you want. Okay? It's where's the nearest point the ball would be, where I have minimum interference with one or the other or both. it's possible if there's water everywhere in that back of the bunker, the ball is going to be in the water no matter where you go, and your feet are going to be wet no matter where you go. So that point you have to look at where's the nearest point and what's going to get wetter. Is it going to be my feet or the swing in the ball? Okay. On the putting green, you get line of play. We're going to skip this because we're going to see it again. Yeah.
So that picture right there, where would you put the ball? Where it is back?
If she's right-handed.
The question was for this picture, where's the maximum point of available relief? Well, if it's a right-handed player, it looks like there's an area just over here where there's still some sand in the bunker. That would get the ball clear, but not her stance. That's the nearest point.
So let's say that water came right, covered all the sand up to the edge. Only thing you can do, out of bunker, forward, stay in the bunker.
Well, first, you can't go near the hole. And you can't come out of the bunker with free relief. You have to stay in the bunker for free relief. So that means you can still move the ball within the water to get the ball in shallower water and stand in deeper water. If it's me, I'd take my shoes off and stand in the deeper water, but have the ball as dry as I can get it. Okay, but that's just me. Okay?
That's the word for it, maximum available.
Yeah. And maximum is essentially the least crap you're dealing with. Okay? There's an
Ball might be in 2 inches water and 1 inch water might be in the
yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Putting green, it's line of play, but we talk about putting green when we get to putting green, so we'll skip that one. Okay, so here it is. It's the point where the ball may be in shallower water than stance or vice versa. Okay? And it's the nearest point. You can't pick.
Question on, if you were setting up the course the morning after you had a lot of rain, what would be the best way to do that? Would that be to take that hole back of the trap and make the ground under repair?
Well, Kurt, the question was, if we show up at the course that morning and they had a lot of rain overnight, how would we treat this? And I'll defer to Kurt, but I think I know the answer. Kurt?
Well, it would, yeah, we wouldn't make them. I wouldn't make the whole bunker around it.
No, I mean like the back half of the divide out.
No,
No.
no. It was, our goal was always with the ground screws, to try to get as much water out of the, out of the bunkers. If it's that bad, we might delay play until
Okay.
some of the water drains. But no, we wouldn't make half the bunker not under it.
Okay. The answer is, from Kurt, we would not declare the wet part of the bunker as ground under repair. Okay? We'd either delay play if we could until the grounds crew could get as much water out of there as possible, leaving as little temporary water in there as possible. So there's places to play outside of that, places to play and drop. Wet sand isn't necessarily something you should not expect to find. You should see it after rain. So a wet sand in the bunker, yeah, that'll happen. So if you can create 99% of it where there are places to take relief from the temporary water in the bunker, that's what we're going to do. Okay?
She has to put the ball there. She can't move behind her over there and still have her feet out and the ball.
As a right-handed, okay, the question was, say it again.
According to what you said, her relief point would be right there. Well, why couldn't she move it out further behind her heels? Okay,
That's coming out of the bunker.
well,
Well-
no, she's still in the bunker.
No, it looks like she is, okay,
Shot, her feet would be out of the water.
the question was, can the player move the ball? I shouldn't say move the ball. Can the player take her maximum relief and drop in the area over where her feet are? Okay, now, the question is, maximum relief, Okay, for the ball, it'd be right next to the sand, right next to the water. She can go as far over from that to see if she can get her stance out, but if she can't, then that would be her reference point. And then part of her relief area is only going to be this little wedge here. She can't go back into the water. So you can go as far to the right in this case as you can and stay in the bunker and drop the ball. And then you still are left with wherever your stance is. Now that doesn't mean you can't take once you do that, you can take a non-standard stance. And by that, I mean closer to the ball, your feet closer together and try to chip it or something rather than blast it. But you can take a stance that minimizes your contact with the water as much as possible. Well, it doesn't have to be anywhere. It's going to be in an area. Okay, you're not going to pick it up and place it. You're going to find that point, maximum point of relief. In this case, you're going to say, well, it's right over here by where her right foot is, let's say, okay? Right at the edge of the sand. It's still in the bunker. That's our maximum point of relief. Now you've got one club length around that to drop in outside the temporary water. And that's going to be a wedge of sand that goes back and comes back up again. But you're going to drop it in there. So the ball may not end up where her foot is after you drop it. It may end up back here after it rolls. So what you're trying to do, you may not be able to do once you drop it. Okay? There's going to be a wedge of sand there that's available to drop in. Okay, putting green. In addition to the other stuff, the maximum point of relief on the available relief on a putting green, in this case where the entire hole is encircled by water, but not at the hole itself, you got line of play. So maximum relief, well, I can't have complete relief because there's nowhere I can play where I'm not going through water. So maximum relief is either going to be where it's the shallowest or the narrowest. Okay? And when we get there, you'll find out your place where you're going to place the ball may not be on the putting green. Okay? Here's the other one to get out of that bunker for whatever reason. Ball's got temporary water or another abnormal course condition there. You look at it and you say, I don't like where I'm going to be dropping. Okay? You can take for one penalty stroke back on the line relief outside the bunker. So it's the line from where the hole is to where the original ball lied, back as far as you want. And we saw this on a slide previously. You can go back as far as you want. You drop the ball on the line, which creates your reference point, and that generates that circular relief area for you to drop the ball in. And that can be in any part of the course except the bunker you're getting out of. It can be in the general area, it can be in another bunker, it can be a penalty area. It just can't be in that bunker. Okay? It's going to cost you one penalty stroke. And again, you've got Rule 19 if you wanted to do that. Okay? There's your reference point where it first hit the ground. And again, if there's multiple parts of the course in that relief area, you can only use the part where the ball first touched. No, near the hole in the original? Well, it better not be if you got out of the bunker. Can't be in the same bunker. Okay. All righty, putting green finally. Abnormal course condition on the putting green, typically it's temporary water. Although I have seen it once for a mole run. Went 2/3 of the way across the green over at Sunset Hills in Edwardsville. That was interesting, trying to find the nearest point of complete relief. So this is a left-handed player. There's the ball. Nearest point of complete relief, closest spot. Be to the right. There it is. And he's also got line of play, although that didn't matter here. And we place it, we don't drop it on the putting green. Okay. Now it's possible, in this case, if you got a big stretch of that temporary water for line of play, You're gonna be nearest point. It's either the left or the right. Well, we go over to the right here, that's the nearest point, but it's in the general area. That's the thing about taking line of play. It can be off the green. But you place it at that point in the general area if that's the case. You don't drop it. Place it. Well, if you're returning a ball to play in the general area, yeah. Also, otherwise it'd be you've taken 2 drops in the general area and it's rolled out of the relief area, then you'd place it in the relief. Okay. Okay. And here again, I don't know why they put the slide earlier. They should have just left it here. Here's where you got water all the way around it. You find the least objectionable part you want to play through and you play from there, and it may be off the green. ABC. Abnormal course condition. Known or virtually certain your ball came to rest in or on an abnormal course condition on the course. So, what are those 4 things? Animal hole, ground under repair, immovable obstruction, temporary water. It's one of those places that we can't see it. But known or virtually certain, that's where it went. The one we're showing here, it's in an immovable obstruction, a building, okay? This is a relief option. Doesn't mean your ball's lost. Why? Because it's known or virtually certain that's where it went, just like where it landed in the garbage bin. Depending on what part of the course you're in, you can take relief. So if this building or this structure's in the general area, you're taking relief in the general area. It's in a bunker, you're staying in the bunker. Okay? It's on the putting green. You're going to place it on the putting green once we find the spot. Okay? So we got to figure out where to start finding our nearest point of complete relief. Well, we used the spot where it went into the edge or across the edge of the condition, whatever it is, one of those 4. I don't know, it went in there quick. So there's where we say it went in. That becomes the place where we assume the ball stopped. Okay? That's not our nearest point of complete relief. That's where we assume the ball stopped. Okay? We start from there, finding our nearest point of complete relief. So we take our stance with the club, make sure everything's clear of that building, where the club touches the ground. That's our nearest point of complete relief, and we define our relief area from there. Okay? Okay, once again, once we proceed under known and virtually certain, the original ball is a wrong ball. Rule 14. It ain't there no more. So you can pick it up, but don't play it. Okay. If it's not known or virtually certain, in other words, the ball could not be in there. It's not 95% sure it's in there. The ball's lost after 3 minutes. And then your only option is stroke and distance. Finally, no play zones. What are they? Well, I'm going to read to you what the definition is because that's important. A part of the course where the committee has prohibited play. A no play zone must be defined as either an abnormal course condition or a penalty area. A no play zone is either part of an abnormal course condition or a penalty area. Well, we're under Rule 16 now, so it's an abnormal course condition. So, there's a no play zone. What are we going to call it? We got 4 choices because we have to know how to get it out into play. We have to know how to find our nearest point of complete relief. So we need a rule to tell us. Abnormal course condition tells us this is not part of the challenge of playing the game. So, is that an animal hole? No, but we could call it one if we wanted. Is it ground under repair? Not a bad choice. Can't be an immovable obstruction because it's not artificial, although the curbing might be. And it sure as heck ain't temporary water. So every time I've seen this on the course, not in the penalty area, It's always been marked as all flower beds shall be treated as mandatory, no play zones, ground under repair. So you're going to use as your reference point to start where it crossed the edge. Just like we did if it went into the other one, you start where it crossed over the edge of it and you go from there. So it's either got to be an abnormal course condition and which one, or a penalty area. Okay? So depends where what the interference is now. Ball position, stance, swing, what? Okay. Forget the penalty area part. So first of all, the ball. What if the ball's in this condition? We'll just use ground under repair because it's the easier one. Okay. General area, bunker or putting green. We know how to take relief for those conditions in those. We do the same thing here. Okay. We just said general area, the first part of the rule, bunker, the second part. And again, now, if we choose, we can take relief back on the line. It may be if we look where our nearest point of complete relief is, oh, good God, that's in 6 inches of grass that hasn't been mown. I'll be there forever trying to hack that up, but I go back on the line, I can go back here into the fairway and drop it nice and clean. Possibility, but it's going to cost you a penalty stroke, then it won't be free. Okay. On the putting green, well, we're going to place the ball wherever that point is. Okay. We go directly to that nearest point of complete relief. We place it. Okay. Now the ball's outside of it. Here you can see it's outside of the curbing or whatever. But let's say the direction of play is to the left. Is that correct? No, to the right. There we go. So the right-handed player would be standing in it or swinging in it. That's prohibited also. Okay. Again, what part of the course are we in? And now it's stance or swing. So we can try the relief that we know about. General area, bunker, or putting green. In this case, the ball matters, but the relief is going to be determined. Our nearest point of complete relief is going to be determined where our feet are, because the ball is already clear. The ball's already out of it. So it's our feet, our stance that's going to determine where the ball must be. So we get our feet set out of the area, take our club, touch it to the ground. That's the nearest point of complete relief. And now we start our relief area from that point, not where the ball lies, but where it will be once our stance and swing are out of it. Other choice, since the ball isn't in there, unplayable. Rule 19. Penalty area 17-1, we'll get there. If you don't do any of the relief right, you played from a wrong place. 2 strokes, and you may or may not have to correct it depending. John talked about serious breach and not serious. Okay, that's abnormal course conditions. Any questions?
Nothing here.
Thank goodness. Okay, dangerous animals. Again, free relief within restrictions. And what are the restrictions typically? Well, you're going to have to stay in the same part of the course. We got some dangerous animals. Now we're including things that are animals again. Snakes, bees, fire ants, other critters that weren't animals when they were digging holes, but now they're dangerous, okay? It's the player's decision here whether it's a risk to him. He's the one who has to make the shot within reason. That's his judgment. Okay. Interference by a dangerous animal condition, no matter where the ball is on the course. The ball has to be on the course. The dangerous condition could be off of it, like somebody's mad dog on a chain that's coming right near you because the chain's too long, but the ball has to be on the course. Could be in a penalty area. It's animals. It's not physical things like thorn bushes and stuff like that. They're dangerous, but they aren't an animal. Yeah. Okay. How we take relief, again, depends what part of the course we're in. General area, what do we have to do? Nearest point of complete relief, and the relief area must be in the penalty area if you're going to play it from within the penalty area. We'll cover this again in 17, okay? If it's in the penalty area, your choice is to immediately take penalty relief outside the penalty area. If the dangerous animal condition is still a reason to worry, now you get free relief from that point. You're going to take free relief from the penalty, from the no play zone in the penalty area. You have to stay in it. Okay, so fine. You find your point. You take your drop. Okay, if you decide not to play it, your reference point for relief going out is still where you first crossed the edge of the penalty area. It has nothing to do with where your ball is now. It depends where you crossed into the penalty area. Okay, if that was 10 yards in front, that's where you're going to go back to if you decide to take penalty relief after you took your dangerous animal relief and decided not to play it. Right? And that's all this says here. Once you get it out of there under penalty, if the animal is still bothering you, you can take further relief free, but you're burning that one stroke to get it out of the penalty area. And if it's unreasonable to play the ball, if you've done something to get to the point where I've created the interference with the animal, or you couldn't have played it anyway because it's lying in a tree stump or something, no such luck. Now, remember that bee's nest in the tree that wasn't a loose impediment or a bird's nest? It's a dangerous animal condition. That's how you get relief from it, this part of this rule. So that wasp nest, those yellow jackets in the ground, that's how you get away from those guys here. Okay. Once again, you can't fake something to create the potential danger. Okay. You get in the wrong spot by going to the other side of the fairway. Yeah, I feel safe over here. I think you'd probably be safe closer to where the edge of the other side was. Besides, the alligator went back into the water. Okay. We clear on the dangerous animals or insect nests?
Right there. With alligators sitting laying on the edge of the barrel. I don't feel comfortable with 15 feet. I feel comfortable with 30 feet, 50. I have that. That's my point, right?
The question was, my ball lies 3 foot from an alligator. How far away is comfortable, and how much of that is the player's judgment? Well, in general, it's all the player's judgment, kind of like if you think there's a danger from lightning. But the smart thing to do is call the official over and say, here's where I feel comfortable. Well, no. Here's the thing. You can substitute the ball when you take relief, so you don't need to go get it. You can go pick it up later when the thing moves away.
One of my playing partners had this exact situation, and it was 3.5 feet away from the snout of a juvenile alligator that was coiled, ready to strike. We moved quite a bit away from it.
Okay. Like I say, it depends what the danger is. I mean, if it's an isolated bee or something that's buzzing around, no. If it's a snake sleeping on the rocks or something, okay, that's another thing. But that's your judgment. Is it a danger to you or not? Now, if you want to, like I said, if you want to go 40 yards, you probably better call somebody over and say why. Well, yeah. Well, no, you don't have to outrun him. You just have to outrun the other guy who's with you. You just don't have to be the first one he catches. Okay. Embedded ball. Again, we don't expect this to be part of the challenge of playing the game. Okay. In the general area, that's the only time it applies. What do we mean by embedded? Result of your previous stroke, part of the ball is below the level of the ground. It's made a dimple in the ground. Okay. It's made a depression. How do you know? I've had this happen. Player says, I think it's embedded. I said, mark it and lift it. He did. I put my hand on there and felt the ground. It was level all underneath it. No depression. It was pushed down in the grass, but that's not embedded, which is what the last slide here says. Okay? So it's only the general area. And again, it's the depression that counts, made as a result of the previous stroke. That one pretty clear, it's embedded. Now, the only question would be, was that from his previous stroke? Okay. Anywhere except the general area, too bad. This relief rule does not apply in a penalty area, doesn't apply in a bunker. Okay. How about the putting green? Oh, there's one. Guess what? That's damage on a putting green. You're allowed to repair it under Rule 13. So what do? Mark your ball, lift it, repair the damage, smooth it down, continue play, replace your ball and play. That's damage to a putting green. It's not embedded. Okay. When can't you do it in the general area? You probably see this in Florida, the place I've seen it, Pinehurst number 2. And all the Pinehurst courses, they've all changed them. They've taken out the rough, restored the natural sandy areas adjacent to the fairway. It's loose enough, you hit a shot in there, it can embed in the sand, okay? Sand, it's part of the general area, not cut to fairway height or less. Well, I don't know anybody who cuts sand to fairway height or less. So that one buries in the sand or embeds in the sand, play it, okay? In an area cut to fairway height or less, the only sand I can think of is a sand-filled divot. And again, the clearly unreasonable. This one looks like it's embedded in loose soil under a dead tree stump. I kind of say that's unreasonable to play that ball in any event. So no relief is an embedded ball. Question?
Back to your previous comment with sand-filled divot. So divot, don't do relief. The sand-filled divot, it breaks and goes in the sand.
And stays in it. Yes.
That ball.
Yes. Because it's sand in the general area, in an area part to fairway height or less. Once again, its own pitch mark, result of the previous stroke. Ball below the level of the ground is there, it is there, and it ain't in the bottom one. Now, what if you can't tell if it's your pitch mark or made by somebody else? Okay. This isn't a known or virtually certain. This is reasonable, it says. We will get to that. But how do you know? Well, hopefully somebody saw your ball come to rest, or you did. You're playing an approach shot, you saw it in the air, you saw it go to the ground, and you didn't see it bounce. Okay? Or another player watched it come down, or a spectator. Right? Or in this case, I don't see any other pitch marks anywhere around here. That's the only one that we see here. So fine, you come up to here. Before you play that ball, I don't see any markings visible. I'm going to want to mark it and lift it to determine if it's my ball. I'm going to do that for sure. So I do, I mark it, lift it, I don't clean it, but I say, oh, that's my ball. But there's a bunch of mud on the bottom of it, okay? Well, where do you think the mud came from? Came from making the hole in the ground, okay? And since this is the only hole around there, I'm saying that's reasonable, that's my pitch mark. I'm allowed to take relief, which means I'm allowed to clean the ball and take relief under this rule, okay? And again, it says, if it's reasonable to conclude that it's your own. To me, that's reasonable. What's not reasonable? Well, you can get a ball stuck in the ground, but none of these are the result of the player's previous stroke. Somebody steps on it or a rules official drives a cart over it. The player's previous stroke, he topped the ball and drives it into the ground and it never got airborne. That doesn't count as embedded. Counts as a bad stroke, but that's it. And a dropped ball never embeds. Why? Because it wasn't a stroke. But you can never embed a drop ball. It may, but you don't get relief. So you may want to take a look before you let that ball go. Okay. Here's how we take relief, and there's a couple of important things here. There's a relief area and there's a reference point. The important thing here is the reference point. It's in the general area right behind the ball. It's not underneath the ball. It's right behind the ball. If you could take a string with a weight on it and move it to the back of the ball and lower it till it touched the ground, that's the reference point. It's not underneath where the ball is, which is normally where we think of. It's behind the ball and in the general area, okay? Still our 1 club length, no nearer the hole than the reference point, and it has to be in the general area. So if part of this is a bunker, you can't use that part. And here's the case. We've got a ball embedded above a bunker in the face of it. That's not in the bunker because it's not touching the sand in the bunker, okay? But where's the point right behind it? Straight down, it's in the sand, which is in the bunker. So we don't have a reference point, not right behind it, okay? So we got to find a point in the general area, no nearer, okay? Might be to the left, might be to the right. Might be to the left and back a little bit, might be to the right and back a little bit. Depends where the hole is. Hopefully it's close, but not always. Depending on the shape of what you're near, a bunker or a penalty area, that point can be some distance away. And here's what they're trying to show us. We can't go down. There's our line of play to the hole. We're going to have to go to the left here. And here's what you do. Here's the case. If this is what we're dealing with, and pretend this is a penalty area as well, same principle applies. There's the ball. You can see by the direction of play, we can't go up and to the right because we'd be nearer the hole, okay? So we're going to have to go to the left and back potentially to get away from the curve to find the reference point. We generate our relief area. We have to throw out the part that's not general area. So the only part we can use to drop in is that non-shaded area. Okay. If we really want to make it hard on the players, we only give relief in the general area to things cut to fairway height or less. We don't get relief for balls embedded in the rough if we choose. But that's a local rule. I don't think I've seen us use it. If it's that soft where balls are embedding all the time, it's probably just as bad in the rough. Okay. You don't get the right reference point. You don't get it in the relief area. You don't keep it in the general area. Wrong place. Okay. Any questions on embedded ball?
Yes. So a clarification from John. He says to clarify, excuse me, to clarify, a ball embedded in sand-filled divot still has to break the surface of the ground, that is the soil, under the sand. And he says he checked this with the USGA. So that's one point. Dave Hampton said he had a player check and the ball was not embedded, but in checking, it made his original lie worse. The ball went lower in the grass when he replaced it. Is he entitled to his original lie?
I think the short answer is when you screw it up, you're stuck with it. If the player's
Okay.
actions make it worse, I think he's stuck with it.
Okay.
I said that, yes, that's what I think.
Okay. Well, someone will tell us if that's not, if they don't think that's correct, but I
I'm
can
sure
go
John
with that.
will.
Yeah. Confirm one way or the other, John. Can you
He's
fix the ground from an embedded ball prior to taking your relief?
Oh, there's a yes and no. If this, let's say you're all in the general area and it embeds short of the green, and you take your relief behind it with no restrictions on the area, and the embedded mark would be on your line of play. In that case, to me, where the ball embedded is the same as a divot. You can't fix it before playing if you intend to play it over the ground. But that's my reaction first.
Okay,
If it's
I-
a
I
shot
agree.
from,
I agree with that. Okay,
I
and
know it's safe.
John has already replied, and he says that was, let me get his thing back up here again. You can worsen conditions, you can't improve them unless you're doing a restoration.
Yeah.
And one more, let me get it here real quick. See, I just did the one, can you fix the ground from an embedded ball prior to taking your relief, right? I did give you that question.
You did.
Yep, and shoot, I think I had one more. Okay, ball makes a large indentation upon landing, goes forward, and then spins back into its own pitch mark. Is that still qualify as embedded?
Well, let's see. Did it end up as a result of his previous stroke?
Yes.
Then it counts.
Okay,
All righty.
those are the questions. Thank you.
Okay. Lifting the ball to see if it's in a condition where relief is allowed. This is kind of like lifting to identify your ball to see if you found it. Okay. You think you might have free relief, but you can't tell without picking the ball up and looking what's underneath it, like the embedded ball or something like that. This is what you do. Movable obstructions, abnormal course condition, embedded ball. Okay. That's what we're trying to find out. Do I have interference from one of those? You can lift the ball to see if relief is allowed. I don't know why they don't say this first. First, mark the ball, then lift it. Okay, and don't clean it. All right? Except on the putting green, you can clean it. If you don't have a reasonable belief for it, like it's in the middle of the fairway and it's a dry day and the ball just rolled 30 yards, and I think I might be in a abnormal course condition here. I want to pick it up and see. Yeah, right. I don't think so. But again, if we're not there, we'll never know this happened. Okay? I don't know why you would do that unless you want to put that ball down and you want your logo pointing a certain way for alignment purposes. That's the only reason I could think somebody would continually do that kind of thing. One penalty stroke. However, if relief is allowed and you take relief, there's no penalty. Okay? This is kind of like under, what would it be? Well, immovable obstruction. You're going to take relief, so you pick the ball up, didn't mark it, you got it in your hand, you find the point, you put it in, and you drop it, okay? Where you get into trouble is, you pick the ball up, you go over there, you find your nearest point of complete relief and say, ooh, I think I'll play it where it was. Well, you didn't mark it, so you can't put it back. You can, you have to. One penalty stroke. Had he marked it and lifted it, he could have put it back with no penalty, okay? But if you're allowed to take the relief from it once you find it, then you didn't have to put it back, so you didn't have to mark it. And you could clean it too, okay? So, didn't mark it, cleaned it, still okay as long as you were entitled to relief. If you didn't get relief after you did all those bad things, yeah, well, you did a bunch of things wrong, but you only get one penalty stroke. Unless there was an intervening thing, but still here it says one penalty stroke for any of those bad things or all of them. Now this is a good one. You were allowed relief and you decide not to take it. This is the same as what I just described with the cart path, okay? You didn't mark it, or you cleaned it, and you decide, now play it where it was. Well, you're going to get the penalty stroke and you got to put it back. You had the chance, the relief was allowable, so all of those bad things you did wouldn't have counted if you took the relief, but you decided not to. In other words, you shouldn't have picked it up in the first place. Okay? You don't get it in the right spot? Bingo. Any questions on that?
No, sir.
Okay, why don't we take a quick 5 before we go to Rule 17? That was a
While
long
you're-
one.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna just make a comment to everybody. The set of questions coming up for next week for 18, 19, and 20. Going to have some long questions. There's some very challenging questions in that group. And there's a couple of questions in there that deal with the concept of a player taking relief, electing to take relief under an inapplicable rule. Those are very tricky situations, so be on the lookout for those questions. I'm sure we'll get into that with John next week.
That was 200 slides. Well. Well, you know penalty areas. Oh. Well, you know penalty areas. The only thing we're gonna get different in there is the no play zones. Hmm. About 10, 15 minutes. First tournament I worked was, I think it was June 16th of 2016, week after I retired.
So 3 places that was mentioned that the ball is. Deliberately moved.
Motion deliberately deflected. Wrong rule. Yes. Those are the ones outside of Rule 16.
Outside.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen that one. Not like that.
No, I mean, questions we're reading are those that are on the quiz that they're gonna get.
Yeah, they're from the USGA website, the online quizzes you can take, multiple choice.
These are all from.
Yeah.
But
You
you
can
think
pick-
They're gonna give you that,
Oh, no, they're harder.
they're what?
Well, they won't be questions from the online
Okay,
quizzes,
okay,
but in principle, a lot of them cover the same issues the same way,
okay,
but they won't read the same.
okay.
But they're gonna be questions on definite. Oh, the 80 question one we're gonna do? Yeah.
I'm going to be out tomorrow. I don't.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Don't study it, just come and take it.
Well, I would, if this lady has.
I know.
I would love to, but this lady begged me to work for her. I work part-time.
Yeah.
And so she said, would you mind doing it? And I said, well, it would work out for me because I'm gonna come back to my town. And I thought, there's no way that I'll be able to take the quiz.
Yeah.
I feel bad, but I've enjoyed the classes. I've learned so
Well,
much.
good. Hopefully, we've made it a little easier to understand why we're doing it.
Some of it is so deep. It's like, okay, wait a minute.
Well, that's why I try to preface it with, what are we trying to do here?
Exactly.
You know, we're taking free relief to get the ball, to get stuff away from the ball, or get the ball away from stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poison ivy, did we discuss that now?
That's not a dangerous animal. Nope.
So there.
That's like cactus.
I know, it's just like cactus.
Well,
That's what I thought.
what you do is you put your rain suit on or
Yeah.
something, or some, better yet, somebody else's rain suit. Well, it's possible if you can't get complete relief, everything's in the water.
Gets got that huge,
Well,
complete available relief?
No, maximum available, not complete.
And that says it. Does it say their maximum available?
Mhm.
On
Yeah.
16.
Yeah, complete is not in there. So you could have stance and ball in the water, stance in the water, ball out. Okay? Ball in the water, stance out, that might be your maximum available, but it's not complete.
That you- well, Like you would if you're measuring from a court pad,
Yeah,
same idea.
yeah. But that when you find, well, you will find a place. But it may be shitty. It may only be 1 square foot of sand is where your maximum point of relief is. Yeah, yeah. And then, then you're probably gonna put the ball there and, okay, let's get going again.
Okay.
Yeah, this will go quick by definition. Okay, guys. Back at it. No, that's an animal hole. Yeah, it's a raised area. Yeah. Okay. Penalty areas, last one today. Okay. This is an area of the course that is part of the challenge of playing the course, which means you have to negotiate it one way or the other. You can play the ball as you find it in the penalty area, or you can take relief outside the penalty area to return the ball to a position where you can continue the succession of strokes. So here's the parts. What if the ball's in the penalty area? What if you play the ball from the penalty area? And no relief for any other rules for a ball in the penalty area. In other words, we've already said, no relief for embedded ball, no relief for abnormal course conditions, okay? No relief for temporary water because there's no temporary water in the penalty area. What is it? How do we know if it's in it? If you decide to play it, what, if any, restrictions do you have on your cats? Turns out, same as if the ball was in the middle of the fairway. How do you get it out if you don't choose to play it? No play zones again. Remember, a no play zone has to either be defined by the committee as an abnormal course condition or part of a penalty zone. Has to be one of those because that tells you where to take the ball. Okay, this is a good one. You make a stroke for a ball in the penalty area, you decide to play it. What if you don't get it out? Or you get it out, but where it ends up says you got to go back because you hit it out of bounds or you can't find it or something else. All right. This applies to bodies of water and any other areas defined by the committee where a ball is often lost, which means you didn't find it after 3 minutes, or unable to be played, which would get you Rule 19. And in general, they make it red for a penalty area because the only option you may have under Rule 19 when you find the ball is stroke and distance. Maybe. One penalty stroke, you can use any of these relief options if you choose to get the ball out of the penalty area. And it's the ball, not your stance, not your swing. It's the ball and only the ball. Here's the first parts of the ball in the penalty area. When is it in? You can play it or take relief. What if it's KVC that it's in there? Well, that's the same as if you saw it. How do you get it out? And then no play zones. First of all, what are they? Area from which one stroke penalty relief is allowed if the ball comes to rest there. By default, it's any body of water on the course, whether it's marked or not, which would include sea, lakes, ponds, rivers, ditches, surface drainage ditch, or any open water course, even if it doesn't happen to have water in it at the time. You see that a lot in the Southwest. Okay. Any other part of the course the committee deems as a penalty area. Here we can see we've got some really heavy growth over there, trees, tall grass, whatever. there's a red line along the edge. It's possible that the out of bounds is 20, 30 yards on the other side of those trees, but this goes all the way to it. You hit it in there. Can you find it in 3 minutes? Maybe, but probably not. And if you do, you have an option other than stroke and distance? Probably not. The committee can say, we're going to hit you for 1 stroke to get you back into play, but not the stroke and distance, but that's still a choice. Okay, it's one of the 5 areas of the course, and here we see 2 of them marked. The one at the bottom right is a water area. The one at the top is one of those heavy growth areas where you just may not find it. There's yellow and red. Different relief options is the difference. Okay, we'll see what they are. Other than we get 1 extra one for the reds. If you have a water course, and here's water, it's pretty clear, but it's not marked at all. The default is red. Okay. So unless it's yellow, it's red. This is important. The edge of the penalty area, kind of like out of bounds, it extends down into the ground and up out of the ground to infinity. It's like there's a wall there. Okay. Unlike ground under repair that only goes down, this goes down and up. So the ground in it, anything else in it, inside the edge is part of the penalty area. Here, if a tree extends out over it, the part that extends out over it, not in the penalty area. If it was ground under repair, that branch sticking out would be. Okay, on above is in the penalty area. But if the tree was inside and the branch extended out, the part extending out of the penalty area is not part of the penalty area. Okay. Objects inside and outside, only the part inside counts. So here what we've got is a ditch or a creek extending across the hole. We've got a cart path with a bridge going over the creek, and we've got a red line coming down on this side of it. There's a red stake on the far side of the cart path. There's another red stake here, and the red line continues. What that's telling us is you draw the line between those red stakes, it continues the penalty area. It doesn't stop there, go along the obstruction or whatever it is, and resume on the other side. It goes across. Superintendents don't like to put red paint or yellow paint across their cart paths because it wears off. This is how you say it goes from one to the other, okay? So in this case, the paved area of the path, it's an obstruction, immovable, it's inside the penalty area, no relief. The bridge, immovable obstruction inside the penalty area, no relief. Why? It's an abnormal course condition, no relief if your ball's in the penalty area. Okay. How do we define it? Stakes, lines, physical features, just the same as we did for ground under repair. We use stakes, it's just like we showed. It's the course side of the stakes at ground level, that line, but that line extends up and down. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a ball right about a foot to the right of the line there. It's in the penalty area, okay? We got lines. Here we have lines and stakes, okay? Well, lines and stakes, what takes precedence? The line. The stake just says you got something bad over here. So again, it's the course side of the red line, and the line is in the penalty area. Physical features, this is for one of those areas that the course or the committee doesn't want to treat as part of the course. You have to negotiate. Like here, we've got 4-foot high grass all the way down one side of the hole. It's very common now to see that marked for play as a red penalty area. Now, either by marking it, by putting red stakes along the edge of the mowing there, or stating tall grass outside the mowed rough on the left side or on the right side of hole number 5 is a red penalty area. Or you say all tall grass throughout the course, okay? But they got to define it if they're not going to mark it, okay? All righty. Again, you can use stakes, but again, they don't count in this case if there's a line there. But they're obstructions, they can be removed to play your shot. How about that? Should just skipped ahead. Okay. This one's interesting. Here they've marked an area with stakes. The dotted line doesn't count because I've never seen dotted lines on the course. So they use stakes and say, there's our red penalty area. But it looks like they may have goofed up and missed part of it. How do we know if they missed part of it? Well, if I'm the official, I'm going to come and look and I'm going to say, what you're going to see on the next slide. What's the natural boundary of the water feature? Where does the ground dip down? Because it's entirely possible this is marked correctly. And what we're seeing here is overflow from a rain event. It's possible, but they're using this to illustrate a point. If we know that should be part of the water area because of the slope of the ground all the way around, and they should have put another stake. Whoops. There should have been another stake out where the arrow is here so we could make a continuous line around, and it's either knocked down or removed. Then you don't get to take advantage of that, okay? They forgot it and didn't get it right. You don't get to take advantage of it. But before you do, you better call an official over if you're a player. Because I'm going to look for a stake mark or a hole for a stake that isn't there if it's laying on the ground. But more importantly, I'm going to look for where the ground slopes down into the water. And if that edge goes out and follows the water all the way around, I'm going to say that's part of the penalty area. Okay? And that's what they're saying here. Look for the natural boundaries. Now here's one. It's dry as a bone, but they got the red lines. Well, unless they tell you otherwise, that's a penalty area, red penalty area. Now what they could say is the red penalty area to the left of hole number 5 shall be played as a general area, because they don't want to take the paint away. But they'd have to say that. The committee would have to say that to the players. Okay. Okay, red and yellow. That's all about the relief options we have. If you're going to change from red to yellow, you put them side by side like this, because it's red to where the red stake edge goes and it's yellow where the yellow stake starts. So maybe you got a 1/16 of an inch there between them that might be doubtful, but you want them as close together as possible, ideally touching. So if you're scouting the course when you come out during your tour before play, look for things like that where they might be a foot or two apart, and if you can, relocate them side by side. Okay. What can you do if a ball's in the penalty area? You can play it. Okay. Now in this case, the ball's in the penalty area, you're standing outside. Okay. You can do the same opposite of that though. You can stand in the penalty area to play a ball outside, but all you're going to get out from relief is the ball. You don't get to get your stance out of it. I've seen players try to do this in a high school tournament. They thought they were entitled to relief because their feet were in the penalty area. They took relief and played it. We found out about it in scoring. Okay. This applies even after you take relief and get the ball out. Because all you're doing is getting the ball. You don't get to move your feet out. Okay. So when is it in? Remember that edge goes up and down. Okay. Well, when the ball lies in or touches the ground or anything else inside the edge of the penalty area. Well, if part of the ball hangs across the edge of that line, it's in the penalty area. Okay. Unlike out of bounds where the ball has to be all the way, here it's any part of it hanging over that edge, you're in. Remember, it goes all the way up and down. Here it's not on the ground. It's in a bush and inside the penalty area. Whoops. Go back. One more. Come on. Here Ernie Els is looking at a ball suspended in some reeds or something 2 feet off the ground. But it's inside the edges of the penalty area. It's in the penalty area. What if you're touching 2 parts of the course? 2 specific parts of the course. Well, actually, any 2 parts of the course. There's a hierarchy. It's in Rule 2.2, but I can tell you what it is. You go from most penal to least, and it's always in the more penal of the 2. So it's penalty area, bunker, putting green, general area. So whichever one you're in, if there's something above you that you're touching, that's the one you're in. So here it's penalty area and bunker, because it's just barely over the edge of the line, you're in the penalty area. Which is good, because that means you can ground your club and do all kind of stuff that you couldn't have done if it was in the bunker. You can take practice swings in the sand too. Okay? You can play it from inside there, just like it was in the middle of the fairway in the general area. You can move loose impediments, movable obstructions. Okay? The only thing you can't do are those things we talked about. You can't take relief from anything, abnormal course conditions or other stuff, but you can play it just like it was in the fairway. You can clean up the lie of loose impediments, movable obstructions, but that's it. Okay? All righty. You've hit the ball into the penalty area. You know where it last crossed the edge. That's the key thing. Where'd you last cross the edge? Okay? If you want to get it out because you decide you can't play it, these are the rules that let you do it. Okay? You got two choices depending when it happened. The one at the top shows the ball going in first. The second one at the bottom shows it went in and I played it from inside, from A to B, but it's still in there. Where do I go now? If you're Phil Mickelson, you keep swinging at it. Which he did at Detroit a couple of years ago until finally he decided no. Okay? No play zone in the penalty area. Just like if it's in an abnormal course condition, you can't play it out of there. And if you have interference by standing or swinging in the no play zone, you got to take relief from that. You can take free relief in the penalty area, or you can immediately go to penalty relief outside. Okay? Okay. If it's not known or virtually certain that it went in there, too bad, stroke and distance. But if it is, how do you know? You saw it splash, you saw it bounce in and roll in, other people saw it. Everything around it is closely mown, no tall grass, and you can't see it outside. That's like 95% sure it's in. Now the only question is where you estimate the spot. Okay? So again, two choices. We'll do the easy one first. Here's how you take relief under known or virtually certain. We're showing one of them. Again, once you put the ball in play under known or virtually certain, that means you got the ball, you let it go out of your hand with intent to play it. That original ball is a wrong ball. Forget it. There's one circumstance where you need it. John covered that in Rule 14. If it would change your reference point. If the location of that ball would change your reference point before you make a stroke at the ball you put in play under relief, you can adjust your reference point in your relief area. Okay? But otherwise, that ball, once you drop it under known or virtually certain, wrong ball. Okay? I don't think it's playable, but I think it's recoverable. Okay? So, known or virtually certain, we got it. What do we do? Okay. Here's our choices for all three areas. Stroke and distance, play from where we last played from. Remember, that's always a choice. Back on the line. Or lateral. That's for red penalty areas only. Okay? Stroke and distance, that's easy. Where'd you start? Teeing area. Remember what we can do in a teeing area. General area. Okay? Bunker, same thing there. Hopefully you won't drop it in an abnormal course condition in either place. But maybe that's where you played from. Putting green, we place it. Okay.
The rules of golf are changing in 2023. The back on the line relief procedure has been simplified, and here's what it looks like. So to use a penalty area as an example, I'm going to keep the point where the ball last crossed between the hole and where I want to drop it. I can go back as far as I want on the line, but I have to drop it on the line because that's what activates this relief option. If I don't drop it on the line, I'll be dropping in a wrong way. The relief area won't get created, and I'll have to correct my mistake by dropping it again, but in the right way on the line. But once dropped on the line, the ball can roll up to 1 club length in any direction, even if it rolls forward and closer to the hole. Back on the line is a great relief option for penalty areas, but you can also use it when you decide that your ball is unplayable.
Okay. So there he is, he's showing it. Use the edge where it crossed as your other point to draw the line. Drop it on the line. 1 club length. Not near the hole and where the original ball last crossed. Well, if you went back on the line, it sure better be. Any area of the course except where you were taking relief from, just like when we were in the bunker. When we went back on the line, it had to be out of that bunker. Here we have to be out of that penalty area. Could be another one. Could be a bunker, but it just can't be that one. Okay? And again, if there's multiple parts of the course in that relief area, we can only use the part where the ball first touched, whether it's general area, bunker, or penalty area. Okay. This is the lateral one. There's where we estimated last crossed. Here's the reference point. So what's the area? 2 club lengths. Not 1, 2. We're going to let you hopefully get far enough away from the penalty area because the ground may be sloping down pretty steep. We don't want the ball rolling right back in after you drop it, although we saw what to do about that earlier under Rule 9. Not near the hole in the reference point. Any area of the course except that penalty area, but if more than one area of the course is within that area, you got to drop it in it, and it has to stay in the area where it first touches the ground. If you have to redrop it, you can drop it in another part of that. And disability players, they have a whole bunch of different options for what they can and can't do to perform any of these procedures. There is a local rule. It used to be in the rule for red penalty areas. You were allowed to go to the opposite side of the penalty area, no nearer the hole, and use that as your reference point. But that's a local rule now that has to be adopted. You might consider it here because on the left side of the hole, if you hook a ball off the tee and it goes up into those trees and bounces in from the left side, assuming the ground isn't flat because it's sloping down in, you may never be able to get a ball to come to rest there outside the penalty area. So you can give the player the option to go to the opposite side, which would be the fairway side, which is what they're going to show here. Equidistant point, and he can take relief on that side using that as his reference point, okay, and play from there. But that's a local rule that has to be adopted.
It looks like Ann Breyer, number 14.
Yeah. Okay. No play zone in penalty areas. What if the ball's there? And what if it's not the ball, but stance or swing? Okay. If the ball is in a no play zone in the penalty area, one choice: penalty relief, out. That's it. You have interference from a no play zone after taking relief under this rule, okay? Which means I took it out. I'm somewhere other than the penalty area now. You still can't play it. Now we go to Rule 16, depending where the ball is now in the general area or a bunker or a putting green, for how we take relief from that no play zone, which is going to be an abnormal course condition, right? And probably a ground under repair. So you would take relief from that ground under repair, free relief, after you got the ball out of the no play zone in the penalty area. Okay. Now your ball's in the penalty area, but it's not in that no play zone. It's somewhere else in the penalty area. Okay. But it's stance or swing. Well, you still have to get relief from the no play zone for your stance or swing, but it's free, but you have to stay in the penalty area. So you find that nearest point of complete relief, and you can drop it there, or you can immediately proceed outside. Okay. You take free relief in the penalty area, you still have a choice now to play it, or you change your mind and take it out, again, using the point where you last crossed the edge. Okay. And there's the free relief, stay in it, and then play it. If it exists, I guess. Because if the whole penalty area is no play zone, you can't take free relief inside. Okay. Anyway, where's the nearest point of complete relief? 1 club length, drop it in it, away we go. Okay. Except there's that clearly unreasonable. What could cause that? Hey, how about I got an immovable obstruction in the penalty area? Like a bridge. Sorry. You couldn't swing at it anyway. Okay. Or the old, I'm going to fake the stance to create an interference. Okay. And we already covered if you find a no play zone outside of a penalty area. And it's going to be an abnormal course condition. Okay. You don't get it right, wrong place. Okay. Any questions? Oh, there's one more thing. Nope, I can still catch it. Any questions on that?
Yeah, taking the several slides ago, where we were showing a guy taking lateral relief 2 club lengths, and he was on the side of a hill. Someone asked me to point out that as long as that ball stays inside of that relief area, it's a valid drop, even if the player now has to stand inside of the penalty area.
Yeah, we said that earlier. All you're guaranteeing is relief for the ball, not the stance. It's only the ball. Okay.
That was it.
Okay. Well, I've made a stroke at it. Where did it go? Didn't get it out, or it went somewhere else, another penalty area, or it went someplace really bad. Okay. Now this, I don't think we've got a picture for this, but if you leave it in the penalty area or hit it in another penalty area, or hit it out of the penalty area and it comes back in at a different point, if you go to page 241 in your book, you'll see both what do you do if it stays in and what if it goes out and comes back in. How to handle that. If it goes out and comes back in, you've got a new reference point now for taking relief, because that's the last place it crossed the edge. So if you decide to take relief, that's the edge you use now. Okay. And then for 1 penalty stroke, you've got all the options available, either from that edge of the penalty area, new edge of the penalty area you're in, or the edge of the penalty area you hit it into. It's a different one. And there's one extra one. So here we go. I played it from inside. It went from A to B. I can play it from B. No penalty, no nothing. Okay. For 1 penalty stroke, I can take stroke and distance relief, which would put me back at A. If I choose, and I would drop a ball in the relief area there and start again. Or I can immediately take lateral relief if it's red. Okay. I can take back on the line relief. So both of those, I'd go right from B to either the lateral relief or the back on the line. I don't have to go to A to go to there. I go right from B to there. Or last but not least, where I last played a stroke from outside. That looks like stroke and distance, but it isn't. Why? Because the only stroke and distance I can take is from B back to A. Okay? B won't get me back to to 4 because that's not where I last played the stroke from to get to B. Okay? So those are the options if it stays in and never exits. If it exits and comes back in, then page 241 shows you what you do there. You just move your reference point up and start using that. Now, if you choose to go back to A and you drop a ball to put it in play, and then you go, oops, okay? Well, you can still get out of the penalty area. You can still use the options to get out of the penalty area, except for one thing. You already took stroke and distance relief. There's one. To get out of the penalty area, it's another one. So once you put that ball in play by releasing it inside the penalty area, that ball was in play under stroke and distance. If you want to get out of the penalty area now, it's going to cost you one more. And that doesn't depend on how many strokes you took at it before you decide, I can't do this anymore. Okay? So let's say you hit it from A to B. I'm still playing it. Went from B to B prime, another foot. From B prime to C prime, another foot. You find, but it never got out of the penalty area. You say, I've had enough. Okay. It's going to cost you one stroke. Okay. And then you can exercise any of your relief options, but you got to count all the strokes you took before you changed your mind. You don't get to wipe those out. So here we go. This one is same area or another penalty area. Okay, I'm there for one more penalty stroke. I've already done the stroke and distance now to get back to A. I can still do these other options, like I said, but it cost my one to get back to A. I went from B back to A. Now I've got still one more to get out. Okay, so a total of 2. It's going to cost you 2 penalty strokes plus however many strokes you took in the interim. Okay, and this is the one, since I've already took stroke and distance, I can't use it again, but the option go back where you last played from outside. Okay, last clean place. On a par 3, you might like that better than anything else because you can tee it up. Okay, you decide to play it, and boy, did you hit it really well. It went one of 3 places: lost, out of bounds, or unplayable. This is Pebble Beach, the 18th hole. This is the player's second shot landed here. This is his third shot. We'll see it later. But if you look at the feed up at the top there, this is the player's third shot. But this is what happens to it. Oops. Well, ball out of bounds. I don't have any choice other than stroke and distance, which would put me back in there. That's like I hit it to B, now I'm back at A. So what are his options? Well, he can play it from down in there or take the relief options, but he's already burned 1 stroke for stroke and distance. So here it is again. Sometimes you have to come back to there to start again. Why? I hit it OB. I hit it into the trees and couldn't find it after 3 minutes. Or hit it over there and I found it, but I can't take back on the line relief. I can't take lateral relief because it won't get me back in play. Stroke and distance may be my only option, or it's the best of my 3. Okay. So in any of those cases, I'm coming back. I'm back in the penalty area. There's 1 stroke. Okay. But you don't have to drop it, remember. I'm going to get the stroke regardless. So I can immediately proceed to the other choices for me, depending whether it's red or yellow. Okay. So there's that 2 strokes again. And here we see him taking the drop. Remember I told you to look at the feet? This is how you know it's really his third shot, because they're telling us, but the feet up there are exactly where they were when we saw him swing. So there's his third shot. Stroking distance 4. Looks like back on the line. Five. Playing 6. And he gets to visit another part of the course. Rule 12, bunker. Okay, you don't get it in the right place when you're doing any of this, general penalty. Okay, any questions on that?
None here.
Okay, we're not going to have too many more here because we can't. Yeah. Okay, remember we said there's some things you don't do when you're in a penalty area? Only way to get out of it is for penalty relief, okay? And it's the ball in the penalty area, not your stance or anything else. So abnormal course condition, there's 4 of them, no relief. Embedded ball, no relief. Unplayable ball, no relief. All of those are ways to put a ball back in play on a different part of the course. Penalty area, you only got the penalty area relief rule. Okay. Dangerous animal condition, if your ball is in there, you can take free relief in it and then play it. But if you decide you're going to take relief outside, you might as well just go right away. Because there's no penalty for taking the free relief and then deciding not to use it. Okay.
In that case, if the ball's in the water and it's by the alligator, I can put it in the grass as long as I'm still in the penalty area for free relief.
Nearest point of complete relief from the dangerous animal condition. That could be 20 feet away. It's all the same thing. The water, the grass, it's all penalty area. It's the nearest point of complete relief. I don't know. Okay. And of course, that's what we just covered. There's no relief for those other things that we did talk about in 16. Okay. They don't count. We're done. Any last questions?
I'm reminded that under the old rules, that concept of playing a ball where it previously was on taking stroke and distance or some other form of relief, it was called a regression.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're done then. Thank you.
I'll see y'all. Thanks.
Stop the recording.